In this world, your soul becomes a weapon, and each one is branded with a rank. Land at the bottom, and they treat you like trash. Meet Jin, the only rank F in his school. Classmates slam him into the lockers, they knock him down and step on his back. Jin just laughs and says he is sorry. They keep swinging and he barely flinches, but when a real punch comes, he slips it clean. He dodges every hit with a sly little grin. Then the whole school goes military. Every student earns a soldier rank overnight, everyone except Jin, too weak for the lowest. The only trainee in a school of soldiers, and that grin is hiding way more than he shows. Jin walks into the teacher's office and the teacher greets him without a glance. The teacher barely looks up from his desk, saying he wants to talk about Jin's future. He cuts to it fast, asking how Jin feels about transferring to another school. Jin's head jerks up, blindsided, and he repeats the word right back, transferring. The teacher says school is already hard, and going military only makes it worse. Jin shoots back that the teacher should look at his hidden potential instead. He asks how the teacher would react if he suddenly did well. The man just blinks. Then the teacher bursts out laughing, calling Jin a great comedian for that line. Jin notes it's the first time the teacher ever looked at him, and only to laugh. The teacher warns the new ranking system will make Jin's school life harder. He admits he can't watch over every student, then leans back in his chair, smug. Jin reads it instantly, certain the teacher just wants an F rank out of his class. Out of nowhere, Jin asks a strange question, and the teacher hums back, curious. Jin asks if souls really carry ranks, and the teacher laughs that they clearly do. At his side, Jin's fist tightens as he says he sees, then adds a single word. But his face goes dark, and inside he disagrees. He doesn't think souls have ranks. The bell rings, and back in class, the teacher tells the room to settle down. Now playing commander, he has each squad sergeant stand and report attendance. The first squad sergeant lazily calls out 10 present and nobody missing. The red-haired classmate reports second squad, 11 present and all there. Jin rests his head on his arms, wondering why they are all playing soldier now. The teacher turns and barks that the third squad still owes him a proper report. He names the blonde kid as third squad sergeant and tells him to stop stalling. The blonde kid smugly reports his squad, calling one member trash he wishes gone. He counts only 8 present, and the whole class cracks up at the obvious jab. The teacher corrects it to 9 as classmates sneer Jin isn't even a person. One kid laughs that a trainee shouldn't count at all, right in Jin's tired face. The teacher waves it off, swapping today's class for an event out on the field. He warns that hidden government scouts are watching them from places unknown. The class demands the real point, and Jin chimes in with a lazy agreed too. The teacher reveals real squad battles, and a fighter swings a glowing staff. A scout with a clipboard studies the clash since the matchups are already set. The blonde kid scoffs the upper years won't bother, and Jin plans to enjoy it. Next, the teacher asks the blonde kid if his Edeya only ranked a middling C. Annoyed, the blonde kid clicks his tongue and asks why any of that matters. The teacher pushes further, wanting to know his overall combat rank too. Fed up, the blonde kid erupts that he gets too many questions and beats anyone. The teacher grins and sets their first match against the third-year first squad. The blonde kid screams a giant "what?", nearly knocking a classmate off his chair. He grabs his own face in horror as the teacher gives them 20 minutes to prep. The teacher even taunts the trainee not to get himself killed out there. The blonde kid clutches his head, moaning they're doomed with an F rank aboard. Then a sly grin creeps across his face as a fresh plan clicks into place. He mutters that he just wanted to rest, not go fight the terrifying upper years. The blonde kid looms over Jin, who turns around like nothing is even wrong. Jin looks up with a big grin and asks the sergeant if he called for him. That polite act snaps him, and the blonde kid shoves Jin's head down with a yelp. He grips Jin's hair, growling that the way Jin talks pisses him right off. He threatens a beating, then warns a monster senior waits on the enemy squad. The blonde kid shoves Jin back, a spark cracking off his chest as he stumbles. From up top, the blonde kid says even their aces lose with a dead slot in play. Jin just grins and says if they lose anyway, it won't matter whether he shows up. The blonde kid grabs his collar, snapping a blowout and a near loss differ. He flicks Jin's forehead, asking who takes the blame if his own rating drops. Jin coolly says that rating was never high enough to be worth any worry. The blonde kid bares his teeth, and Jin quickly backpedals with a sweet nothing. Jin swears he said nothing as the blonde kid clamps him into a tight headlock. Either way, Jin figures a beating from soldiers or seniors feels much the same. The blonde kid smirks and decides to finally give the trash a real role to play. He pats Jin's head, and Jin cheerfully swears to do anything he is told. A flat okay leaves the blonde kid as the whole plan locks in between them. He declares that from now on, Jin will be nothing but his personal shield. Out on the field, Jin stands strapped to a shield, set to soak every hit for the squad. The kid who plays worthless just got shoved to the front, straight at a monster. The teacher grabs a mic and shouts a loud check across the schoolyard. Two squads stand on the field while a big crowd rings the court to watch. The teacher introduces the third-year captain first, calm and stone-faced. Then he names the blonde kid as our squad leader, who clicks his tongue at it. The teacher asks both squad leaders if their teams are ready to start. He nearly uses the captain's first name, then switches to his formal title. The captain smirks at the scouts on the balcony, there to grade everyone. He offers a handshake for a fair fight, and the blonde kid mutters a board fine. Both squads split off and walk to their marked positions on the court. Our squad trudges into place, and none of them looks happy to be here. The teacher opens the match and reminds each leader about their bracelet. The blonde kid hauls Jin over by the collar and calls him trash while Jin gags. The bracelet blocks shock but cracks under enough hits, so the blonde kid keeps it on. Jin dangles from the grip and whines that this hold makes him feel like a puppy. The blonde kid says be a quiet shield, and Jin sighs he went from animal to object. He panics that they cannot last, and in front of the whole school too. A stopwatch reads a flat 5 minutes, the time they must survive to win. Jin clenches his fist, wondering if a win could make the teacher drop his transfer. Both sides salute, the blonde kid cursing through his, and the teacher gladly starts it. The moment it begins, the blonde kid grabs Jin, who lets out a startled A. From above, the blonde kid swings Jin as his squad scatters, telling him to shut it. He holds Jin out as a shield and yells they only need to last 5 whole minutes. The squad begs the blonde kid for orders and asks about the plan and formation. The third years charge in while the blonde kid screams at everyone to protect him. He clutches Jin close and repeats his only plan, to stay put 5 minutes and win. A senior slams in and the blonde kid whips Jin up as a shield to eat the first hit. The enemy captain hurls one of our squad clean across the dirt without effort. Another senior grabs for the blonde kid's wrist and the bracelet that ends him. A ponytail senior girl leaps into the middle of the squad at terrifying speed. Her sharp eyes lock onto Jin and a small grin spreads across her face. Jin panics that the scary senior looked dead at him while the blonde kid gawks. The senior chases them across the court as the blonde kid drags Jin along, stumbling. The blonde kid shoves Jin forward, screaming block, and Jin asks how he can do that. He flings Jin at the senior and yells at him to block her however he can. Jin gets dragged by the collar again and asks if running the other way is an option. The blonde kid's face lights up with a huge grin, like a bright idea just hit. He promises to handle Jin's transfer all smug, and Jin mutters this is a little much. The blonde kid swings Jin at the senior, and Jin adds one flat word, irritating. The senior snags Jin and guesses aloud that his own squad turned against him. Up close, her eyes go wide as she studies Jin's face for the very first time. That single look makes her freeze, and a sharp huh escapes her. She screams the name of her Edeya, and white light bursts off her whole body. Plated armor snaps together over her legs and arms, one piece at a time. She lands fully wrapped in white knight armor, long hair streaming behind. Jin claps and gushes that her armor looks amazing, playing the biggest fanboy. The senior tells him to drop the act, sure he flinched at her real speed. Jin points out the real issue. His squad leader is sprinting off the field. He sneaks a look at his watch, which still reads 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Jin grits his teeth and panics that 3 whole minutes is way too long. He decides to stall her however he can, since fighting her straight is hopeless. Jin throws an arm around 2 squad mates and cheerfully asks to call her Nuna. He backpedals fast, apologizes, and offers to just call her Sunbae instead. The senior flatly says stalling is useless and tells him to summon his Edeya. Her armored fist cracks its knuckles while Jin begs to trade names first. Jin flings his hands up for more time, and she figures his Edeya is the valuable one. The senior demands why he is rushing, and Jin insists staying calm is a virtue. Her eyes narrow to a thin, angry line as her patience finally runs dry. She lunges in a red haze, and Jin cracks a joke his dad used while losing to his mom. Jin caves and says, fine. He is taking it out, and her armored boots stop short. His face twists into a sweaty, cornered grin as he finally gives in. He puts out his hand and starts a slow count at 1, blue light pooling in his palm. The senior swallows and waits while Jin drags the count out to 2. She braces herself for whatever monster weapon is about to show up. Jin yells dagger, and a plain F-rank blade pops out as he sings a proud tada. He suddenly clutches his head as if in pain, faking an ache to buy more time. Jin yells that she should run to the nurse, then admits he is the famous F rank. The senior lets out a long, tired sigh at his whole ridiculous performance. Jin grins and brags that his dagger is basically S rank among all normal daggers. The senior turns to leave, done with him, calling his earlier reaction pure luck. Jin scrambles after her, insisting she cannot just get disappointed and walk off. He shakes a fist at her back, bluffing he will jump her from behind if she keeps going. The senior whips around, unimpressed, refusing to waste time on an F rank right now. Jin suddenly dives at her from above with the dagger, and she spins back with a huh. Inside, he smirks that he expected her to ignore him and calls her an earnest senior. His dagger streaks straight toward her face, and her green eyes snap wide open. Her armor takes the full strike with a sharp ugh and a spray of blue sparks. The senior recovers with a smirk. A little surprised, the F rank landed a hit. Jin presses the blade to her armor, grins weakly, and admits it is as hard as it looks. His grin melts into teary panic because that little dagger cannot even scratch her armor. The crowd howls, calling that a classic F-rank move that did nothing. Jin keeps the dagger on her armor, and the senior just lets out a bored grunt. She admits his reflexes are sharp, but all Edeya armor is this tough anyway. The senior says the attack clearly failed, so he should just stop and give up. Jin plays it cool, muttering the strike should have at least bought him time. He sneaks a look at his watch and panics, since the timer still reads 2 minutes. Nearby, the blonde kid hits the dirt, raging his squad cannot last 5 minutes. Jin strolls up and dryly asks if a guy who spent the match running should talk. The blonde kid drops to a crouch before the senior, begging her to buy his act. She smirks that there is no need to hold back, so he should show what he can do. The senior leans in, daring him to prove he is worth anything as he curses his luck. Then the blonde kid turns to a huge stone jammed deep in the ground beside them. His grin widens as a big one surfaces, proof that seeding rocks everywhere paid off. The senior stays calm and asks again when he actually plans to prove that merit. He answers with a sharp grin, promising to show her exactly that if she insists. The blonde kid throws himself low and fast, charging straight at the senior. Her eyes fly wide as the cornered coward suddenly turns fast and aggressive. Jin's jaw drops as he realizes the blonde kid buried his real Edeya rank all along. Then Jin throws out a hand, shouting a warning to the senior that this is dangerous. The blonde kid slams his palm down, and his real Edeya flares in cold blue light. He rises onto a slab of rock torn from the earth, the senior squared up ahead. The blonde kid grins, names his power, and swings the whole slab, its weight ignored. Up in the stands, the crowd winces, unsure even a third year is safe from that rock. The senior's stern face bends into a sly grin, amused his cowering was an act. The blonde kid rides the swing down, the force driving him low across the dirt. He roars at her to clear out and become the stepping stone that proves his merit. Then he rockets up off the slab, howling that being a third year means nothing. The blonde kid crows that he will win until a dark figure looms up behind him. A brown-haired third year drops in behind him and hammers an arm across his back. The blonde kid face plants, shrieking about such a cowardly sneak attack. The senior had thrown both arms up, straining to hold that massive rock alone. Then the captain calls his own Edeya, vowing to catch whatever target he locks onto. Teal light rips across the field as he crosses the whole distance in an instant. He reaches the senior just in time as the rock's force erupts between them. The captain grits his teeth against the pressure as the shockwave tears past. As the dust clears, the senior rounds on the captain, annoyed he stole her moment. She asks why he cut in, and he says the swing was dangerous, and his squad comes first. She bristles that she could have handled one rock alone, and he grants that she could, but the captain warns a certain sneaky underclassman would never let her stop there. Off to the side, Jin smirks that his squad leader walked right into the trap. The captain's eyes flash as he looms over the flattened blonde kid, who shrieks. Then he rounds on Jin, who throws both hands up and blurts that he surrenders. The captain says Jin tipped off the senior before the attack and asks him why. Jin plays innocent, but the captain calls him a liar, and Jin protests his surrender. The captain's Edeya snaps him forward, catching Jin clean before he can slip loose. His dagger clatters away as a hand hauls him up by the collar, and Jin scrambles. Jin begs the captain to hold on and actually hear him out for one whole second. The captain grips him closer, done letting this F-rank chatter out of a beating. Jin's voice cracks into a shout as the captain swings him through a teal blur. The captain comes flying at him again, closing the gap before Jin can reset. He pulls up with a sharp grin, drawling at the second year to just hold still. The captain crouches low, hand out, flatly asking the panting F-rank who he is. Jin grins through the panic, reeling off his recruit title and lowly F-rank soul. Jin gets a flat I see, then sneaks another glance at the timer on his wrist. The captain catches it and asks the second year exactly where he keeps looking. Jin laughs it off, calling the attention scary with 1 minute left to survive. He points at the pack stands, whining that the crowd loves how doomed he looks. The captain shuts his eyes and says he hates stallers, seeing through the whole act. Jin throws his hands up, demanding to know what one lousy F rank can do alone. He shrugs that effort is pointless for an F rank, but the captain means it as advice. The advice stings. Scouts force the weak to transfer out, just as his teacher wanted. Jin quietly says he refuses to transfer, and the captain tells him to do it properly. He sinks low with his dagger and warns the captain this might not end well for him. Jin's easy grin drains away as a deep red haze bleeds up around his body. His eye burns a hot red behind the lens, and his face twists into a killer's grin. Red energy pours off Jin in thick waves as the harmless act finally falls away. His so-called weapon flashes up first, a plain F-rank dagger with no real power. His real power wakes, his strength triples, and he reads a foe's weak points and soul. It maps the fastest route to wreck a foe and stays on until that foe is finished. Then it all gets a name, a pure hunger to kill, an S-rank Edeya named Absolute Murder. Jin stays hunched over, that red murder haze rolling off him in thick waves. The captain feels the pressure land and flinches, his whole body locking up. He mutters that the cheap little dagger clearly wasn't all of Jin's power. Jin reads him right back, and the captain's catch-type Edeya opens up in the air. The card marks it B rank, and Jin flatly tells him the ability is weaker than expected. The captain's eyes snap wide, asking if Jin can really see other people's Edeya. Jin lifts the plain dagger with a manic grin, laughing that he can't hold back now. Then Jin lunges, closing the gap before his own sentence even lands. The captain reads a wave of pure murderous intent rushing straight at him. It presses in close, so he dryly asks if Jin isn't too old for an emo phase. Jin's eye burns red behind the lens, saying he knew his sunbait could take this much. The two square off on the open field, and neither one moves a single inch. The crowd wonders why the captain freezes, while someone shrugs he only came to watch Jin get wrecked. The captain studies that loose stance and thinks it looks completely wide open. Then he corrects himself, realizing there is not one real opening anywhere in it. Sweat slides down his jaw as he admits this Jin feels nothing like before. Red energy pours off Jin, his soul power glowing bright right at his core. The senior feels it too and decides he cannot be left alone, unease crossing her face. Jin only grins wider through the red haze. The senior makes the call and orders every member to move on him at once. Her whole squad launches together, bodies flying in at Jin from all sides. Jin meets them head on and the collision freezes into a tangle of faces. One attacker hits the dirt hard, dropped in a single beat. The senior's armored hand clamps onto the captain's head and drags him back. He grunts at the weight and demands to know what she thinks she is doing. She answers that she guards her own squad the same way he guards his. Standing over the pile, the captain says she never needed to step in and protect anyone. Then he pauses, less certain, replaying the instant they all rushed Jin together. The senior's armor had crashed down, and Jin's dagger flew up to block it clean. The captain had darted in too, trading one fast strike with the red-eyed Jin. Their whole assault detonates in a burst of red energy tearing across the yard. The captain admits Jin moved at a speed most people could never react to. He isn't even sure he could have stopped it, but another thought keeps nagging. A grin tugs at his mouth, and a student nearby asks if the captain is actually laughing. Still amused, he warns the senior to get her Edeya up before it breaks any further. The senior freezes on the memory of that one quick strike from Jin. Her white armor cracks apart, and she cannot believe it took that much damage. She lifts her snapped wristband, stunned, as a squad mate finds his broken the same way. They start asking if every band broke, or if the nurse cut the Edeya off by mistake. The captain stands tall over the heap, saying the squad's teamwork came together nicely. Down at the bottom, Jin forces an awkward grin and groans that it is way too heavy. The red haze is gone now, and Jin just blinks up through his crooked glasses. The captain looks down and asks if Jin has finally returned to his senses. Jin whines that it has already been 5 minutes, so the sunbays can climb off him. The captain glances back and says next time he wants to clash with no one stepping in. Jin throws his hands up, insisting one round was plenty and there is no next time. The captain tells him to put in real work before then, calling it honest advice. Jin scrambles up, reaching after him, shouting that he already said there is no next time. The captain only says let's go, and the seniors stroll off across the yard. The blonde kid flops flat in the dirt, wheezing that the whole match was too hard. A referee calls the result, and the second-year squad breaks into a shaky victory cheer. The scene cuts to the principal's office, where a guest asks if his files are ready. The advisor leans back in his chair, calm and patient, waiting on the answer. The nervous principal holds out a thick stack, saying the papers are right here. The advisor flips one open onto the captain, a famous third year sitting at B rank. He notes the captain won nothing in middle school, then swept every match in high school. The principal adds it was that same B rank Edeya that carried him this far. Two more reports slide out, one a D rank second year, the other simply marked trainee. The advisor stops on that word, and the principal admits the kid ranks below the first years. He waves it off, saying they only allowed the boy into combat class after he argued for it. The advisor rubs his temple, brushing that aside because this odd case has him hooked. He asks if the kid's past record sits in the back, and the principal begs him not to read it. The advisor reads anyway, learning Jin lost his parents at 8 and grew up under an abusive aunt and uncle. The file says his Edeya only woke at 10 during a violent break-in, and still came out F rank. He asks if the boy's combat power was always F, and the principal says at least on arrival. Turning to the photo, the advisor wonders aloud if the kid hides his real power on purpose. He says he wants to meet Jin in person, and the startled principal can only manage a huh. The principal warns the F-rank boy will likely transfer out soon, and the advisor just hums. Then the advisor leans in with one last question, and the principal tells him to go ahead. His palm presses flat on the papers as he asks why this place became a military school. The principal panics inside, certain it hides some secret plan he would rather never hear. He throws both hands up, blurting a frantic apology for ever asking the question. The advisor calmly mentions the threat rising from the north and slides the captain's file forward. Then he lays Jin's report beside it, saying the whole system rides on a single hope. He wants a student who can grow far beyond their old self, and his eyes settle on Jin. Jin's whole day kicks off at 6 sharp, the alarm clock blaring on the desk. He sits up in bed, throws his arms into a stretch, and groans himself awake. At the mirror, he straightens his collar and tie, then pushes his glasses up. He pumps a fist and hypes himself for another day, promising to give it his all. By 6:30, he's already at the door, calling out that he's heading off. Jin walks the empty streets to school early, since he got saddled with cleaning duty. A few upperclassmen stop him for a uniform check and clock that he's a second year. They almost write him up, then realize he's the school's one and only trainee. Jin plays it up, grinning that he's a little flattered to be this famous already. To his face, they call him dumber than expected and figure his win was pure luck. One pinches his cheek, asking how a junk dagger held off the captain, An Sung-ho. Meanwhile, Jin's stuck slapping chalk erasers together, coughing in the dust cloud. The powder won't shake loose, and he grumbles why the school still avoids whiteboards. After that, he's down on the floor working a mop across the tiles. Jin runs the thing up and down the corridor as fast as his legs allow. A squad mate pinches another's cheek, teasing that bailing early was his big move. Then someone grabs Jin by the collar and admits his match genuinely impressed them. They tell him he's S rank at exactly one thing, catching everybody off guard. A classmate grins it was all luck anyway, and Jin just answers with a flat stare. The good mood dies the second the bully cracks Jin awake and calls him trash. Jin flinches at his desk, bracing for the second hit he's sure is coming, but the bully only orders him to go grab the math handouts he missed before. Jin blinks. Stunned, the guy wants a favor instead of the usual beating. Now the whole class treats him like an errand boy, dumping their homework on him. He grips his broom, a dark aura rolling off him as he quietly seethes. The bell rings. Jin throws his arms up cheering and gets barked at to settle down. Their homeroom teacher reminds everyone today is the final day to pick a club. Every second year is forced to join one, so skipping out isn't an option for Jin. Jin wonders which club to pick and whether a single one would ever take him. The bully warns that blowing this off earns him a private meeting after school. His classmates crack up, certain no club alive would accept a lowly F-ranker. Jin calmly tells them to mock him all they like, and it makes one kid freeze up. He scans the sign-up sheet and every listed option ties back to combat or Edeya. A classmate leans over his desk and asks where Jin is signing up. Two of them decide to team up and go for the squad battles club together. Another jumps in hype to tag along, leaving Jin sitting there with no group. Jin ends up alone in the emptying room, no teammates and no real options. He grips his head, praying they'd finally scrap the rank limits blocking him. Then his finger stops dead on the one club open to any Edeya level at all. His face lights up at a plain physical training group he can actually sign into. Still, it nags him that one club hogs the whole popular gym by itself. He rounds the corner straight into people screaming and shoving over spots. A huge crowd packs the entrance, and Jin stops cold at the wall of bodies. He double checks his paper, positive he's standing in the right place. Someone spots him in the crush and yells the F-rank upperclassman showed up too. A first year points right at him, and the rest quickly confirm it's really Jin. The kids around him argue over how to even address a trainee who outranks their year. It isn't even required for them, yet they're packed in and losing their minds. Crushed between shrieking fans, Jin wonders who this club president even is. All at once he wants to bolt, and his sign-up sheet slips right out of his hand. Cold sweat runs down his back as the crowd swears the rumors were all true. The president himself strides out, and everyone screams one name, An Sung-ho. It's the Captain Jin fought to a standstill, the guy who runs this place. Jin nervously asks if this senior really leads the HT training club. The captain grins that he never expected Jin here, and admits he's honestly impressed. Jin freezes up front, and the second the captain calls everyone in, he wants to bolt. He turns to sneak off, but the captain asks where Jin thinks he's going. Jin spins back, grinning, swearing he wandered into the wrong club by mistake. He says he'll look around first, but the captain notes the club has no other members. Jin admits he came hoping for a small crowd, then stalls about all the applicants. The captain says the club isn't open to anyone, and Jin bolts, joking he's below that. One hand catches Jin by the collar as the captain says the entry test starts now. He drags Jin backward by the scruff while Jin yelps that he's totally fine. The captain scans the packed room and notes there are tons of applicants again. His tired face goes dead serious as he says the test is simple and starts now. Two girls swoon over him as Jin learns one set alone is 120 reps. Then the captain says 10 sets with no break to pass, and Jin screams to count him out. The reps begin, and the captain calls number 2 too slow and cuts him on the spot. He tags numbers 5 and 6 next, ripping their form before booting them out. The captain says match his pace, and one applicant folds face first onto the floor. Bodies drop everywhere as another applicant wails he can't take one more rep. Jin runs the math in his head, and that one set still sounds impossible. The captain keeps pumping clean push-ups, his expression never once shifting. Half the room is folded over, gasping, and Jin wonders what monster this senior is. From overhead, the whole first group lies wrecked, and the captain calls them out. The captain lifts a cold, glowing eye and calls up Group 2, putting Jin on the clock. Group 2 shuffles up terrified, one kid calling the captain scary but weirdly cool. They shove Jin to the front, insisting the F-rank senior should take the scary spot. Jin gets pushed forward hard, begging them to stop while they cheer him on. He stumbles right up to the captain, face to face, and lets out a defeated groan. Jin asks if the guy is even human, since 1 year of age can't explain zero fatigue. The captain cracks a half smile and warns Jin that saying that out loud is a mistake. Jin starts to play dumb, but the captain cuts him off and calls Group 2 to begin. Jin trained alone to outlast the bullies and thought he was fit, but this is inhuman. He grinds through the reps with 2 others, all 3 screaming as their arms give out. The applicants heave for air, and the captain calmly asks if he should speed things up. Jin's mouth flies open in a panic as he begs the captain not to do that. A girl who already failed just watches, and the crowd marvels the F-rank hasn't quit. They drop into squats as onlookers argue his stamina has to be top tier, not F-rank. Jin snaps that he already works out at home, sweat pouring as he fights to stay up. The captain flatly tells him to shut up and focus, and Jin looks ready to collapse. 2 watchers count it up and realize the captain and Jin are on their 7th set. The fangirls lose it over the captain, then swear the F-rank senior is keeping up too. The captain flashes a grin mid-rep and tells Jin he's doing pretty good. Jin drips with sweat as he screams inside that this is way too much work. The captain says Jin's reaction speed last fight was no fluke, so he can keep pace. He cranks the tempo higher, and the crowd gasps, doubting the F-rank can follow. Jin grits his teeth through the burn and snaps out loud, asking if this guy is for real. He waves a tired hand and groans that the pace is just too much to hold. Then the crowd goes wild as Jin matches the nation's #1 rep for rep. Jin hangs on with a worn grin as the whole room cheers him to push a bit more. Near the floor, they pound reps together as the count passes 27, 28. The captain throws his arms up and says good work as the count climbs to 29. Both of them roar through the last rep and the count finally lands on 30. Jin sags back, gasping that he's dying, and the crowd sees he's the only one who passed. The captain claps for him while the onlookers cheer. chair, congratulating Jin on making it. Jin flops flat on the floor, spent, admitting that getting applauded isn't so bad. He reaches a hand down with a smile and welcomes Jin to the HT club. Jin takes it, thanks him politely, then adds that he's quitting the club right away. The captain shakes his hand and says no need to wait, he can start tomorrow. Jin freezes mid-shake and asks if the senior even heard a word he just said. The captain grips tighter, says workouts double up together, and he's waited ages. Jin swears one more set would kill him, but the captain only laughs about finally landing a member. Jin knows he's done for. Jin slumps at his desk after class, and he groans that he never wanted this club. He curls into a crouch, sick that joining it threw every eye in the room onto him. Jin yanks at his own hair, hating that the whole club is just him and the captain. These days, the other students pick on him non-stop while he sweeps the floor alone. They crowd his desk, grilling how a low F rank ever landed in the elite HT department. Little chibi classmates swarm him and chant his name, but his mind stays on the captain. Jin even thinks about breaking his own arm just to dodge showing up to practice. He ditches that plan fast, since the captain would only drag him to the nurse and back. A girl none of them noticed barks hey right behind Jin, and he jumps out of his skin. He spins around, totally blank, not placing this new face at all. She asks if he is in this class, and Jin mumbles a shy yeah at the pretty stranger. She leans on the lockers and says students introduce themselves here with this. In her hand sits a small green title booklet pushed right up to his face. Jin reads it aloud, Miss Corporal, and only then does her rank sink in. The corporal frowns and asks why he has not pulled out his own title yet. A booming voice in his head roars for his title and name, and Jin locks up stiff. On reflex, Jin snaps to attention and blurts his full squad and trainee number. He throws up a salute, sweating, and wants the floor to swallow him whole. The corporal echoes the word trainee while Jin curses all that forced drill practice. She shakes his hand and introduces herself as a corporal, and Jin laughs it off. She says she transfers into his own platoon tomorrow, and that is why she flagged him. The corporal tips her head and asks him to take good care of her from now on. Jin mutters that he has to be elsewhere and edges off, but she grabs his backpack. She reels him back in one hard yank while he yelps and stumbles. The corporal pins him flat against the wall before he can slip away. Face to face, Jin begs off again, but she flatly says she needs a guide. Jin panics inside, sure the captain could track him down at any second. She slams him back down and pins him again while he cries out to wait. Jin begs her to ask anyone else, but she says he feels comfortable to her. She twists him into a floor arm lock, and Jin caves in fear and agrees to guide her. Jin asks where she needs to go, and she says take her straight to the captain. Relieved, Jin lights up and says that is exactly where he was headed anyway. A dark voice says his name, and the captain looms up right behind him. The corporal spins and squeals, starstruck that the captain is standing there. The captain clamps a hand on Jin's head and asks if he was ducking practice. Jin swears he was coming while the corporal tells the captain to show respect to seniors. She points out that ranks here run on skill, so a real senior should be stronger. The corporal jabs his chest and says the two of them look about the same level. The captain coolly offers to confirm that ranking for her right here and now. He grips his tie tight, one eye twitching, his patience clearly running thin. The two square off in a blaze, while Jin gets crushed flat between them and howls. Out of nowhere, the corporal asks the captain if he is dating anyone right now. The captain balks, then flatly answers, nope, and she nods like she expected it. She figures a guy who trains daily stays single, and the two trade open insults. The corporal says he should fake a partner if he wants people to leave him alone. The captain asks what she means, and she brings up her loud, strict family. Stuck between the two, Jin quietly wonders where he even is and who he is. Walking off, the corporal turns to Jin and just asks if he wants to date her. Jin recoils, stunned, choking out that this is coming at him way too suddenly. She says they stand the same height, and she likes men right at her eye level. Jin covers his face and stammers that he really does not know about any of this. The corporal cups his cheek and studies him without saying a single word. Then she smirks and calls him cute, clearly enjoying how flustered he gets. She hauls him in close and asks the trainee for his Edeya and combat rank. Jin admits both come back as F rank, and she instantly calls it a flat lie. He insists it is real, but she cannot believe anyone scores 2 F ranks at once. They haul him off his feet while he weakly repeats that he is standing right there. The captain plants himself between them them with crossed arms and tells the corporal to leave. He says the two of them are heading off to train, so she needs to clear out. Over at the bars, the captain barks last one, while Jin heaves out a final pull-up. Jin crashes to the mat, and the corporal admits the real grind changed how she sees him. Flat on all fours, Jin wonders why she even tagged along, and she asks if he is okay. Jin gasps at her to please save him now that she is standing right here. She acts confused about when he ever asked, and Jin loses it over the guide part. Face down on the floor, Jin hears the corporal ask why the captain bothers with a nobody. The captain shrugs that any partner to train with beats the gap in their ranks. The corporal is not buying it and presses on why he goes this far for one trainee. She pushes harder, demanding to know what potential he ever spotted in Jin. The captain only smiles and answers that it is the secrets this quiet boy keeps hidden. Seyun corners the captain, grinning that he's clearly seen what Jin can do. The captain plays dumb, so she needles him for quietly betting on Jin. She smirks that if he won't talk, she'll go ask Jin straight to his face. Seyun bounces over to Jin on the floor and asks if he heard that whole talk. She squishes his cheeks while Jin jokes he's the F-rank kid with zero useful charm. Seyun and the captain just stare, not buying his dumb act for a single second. The captain ends the act and hauls him off to train, so Jin flails and screams for Seyun. Her grip on Jin traces to day one when the teacher wraps the board for focus. The teacher announces a transfer student joining today and calls her inside. He waves at the door, and Seyun peeks in from the hallway with a lazy look. She strolls up front and stands there holding her corporal title booklet. The class mutters that she's pretty but looks tough while she asks for her seat. The teacher points to a seat in Squad 1 but says, "Introduce yourself first." She grins and says she likes Squad 3 instead, and the teacher scrambles to object. Seyun leans over a desk begging for Squad 3, but the teacher says it has no slots. Her eyes lock onto two guys sharing a desk, one of them Jin behind his glasses. She points and cheerfully asks the pair to move so she can grab that seat. The seat's owner pushes back that he can't just hand it over on the spot. Seyun leans in with a dark, heavy aura and asks if he really won't budge. The guy folds fast, saying he'll take another desk, and she thanks him sweetly. As she settles beside Jin, a sharp voice calls out to the new transfer student. The Squad 3 leader steps up, snapping that she owes him her rank and name. She coolly asks if his rank even beats hers, since Corporal caps the whole year. Seyun throws a hand up, tells the teacher she's sitting here, and the leader sputters. The teacher sighs about the bizarre kid and lets it go, since she's already parked. Jin buries his face in his hands the moment she drops into the seat beside him. She asks if he actually dislikes her and why he's playing it so cold. Seyun leans in, says she came since they clicked yesterday, then dares him to get ugly. Jin panics and blurts that he'll gladly skip the not getting along plan, forcing a laugh. The teacher cuts in, asking Kim Seyun to at least introduce herself to the room. She looks honestly annoyed and mutters that she's already seated anyway. Seyun leans back and says fine, she'll do the whole introduction from right here. She's told to stand up front, but she refuses flat out since the class can hear her. Then she flips to a bright grin and greets the entire class like nothing happened. She names herself Kim Seyun, joining today, and classmates mutter she's cocky. Seyun adds she's a corporal whose Edeya is the white jade goblin, and Jin perks up. She admits her family pulled strings, then chirps they can all grow together. Seyun says she's in their care now, and a few classmates spin around looking shaken. The room erupts, students gasping that she's the white jade Kim family's real goblin. One guy loses it, hyped that their class just landed a live white jade goblin. That title means a lot since the White Jade Goblin is the one Edeya you can inherit. Normally no two souls hold the same Edeya, but one family pushed to pass theirs down. Over generations they honed that gift into a blade sharper and far deadlier. The line that pulled it off was the Kim family of Gimhai, traced to King Suro himself. They dropped normal family life, drilling study and combat without a break. To guard the bloodline, they married only within, and their kids carried a rare Edeya. All of it built toward one robed heir, the end product of that ruthless breeding. The Edeya ranks at A, but it only ever manifests in the family's own daughters. The bloodline nearly died out until the final generation birthed one last goblin. That kid was born with power far beyond any man's, the last built for real sword work. Her name is Kim Seyun, raised from birth to reach the highest level of the blade, an elite from day one, blessed by her family and fate itself, a full-blown prodigy. Back in class, this prodigy leans on her desk and asks if she can finally sit. The teacher caves, lets her sit, then drops that she's now the Squad 3 vice leader. That whole room explodes, and the teacher slams the podium, begging them to shut it. The squad leader loses it, shouting that no fresh transfer deserves the vice spot. In reply, the teacher barks at him to shut up and kills the argument cold. The squad leader grinds his teeth, choking back tears as her promotion sinks in. Beside all the chaos, Jin dryly tells Seyun she's apparently pretty famous now. She props her chin on her hand and says, of course, since she's just that amazing. Seyun fires back that Jin is plenty rare too, since a rank F trainee is just as odd. Jin flops face down, begging her to quit since he's an ally, but she gladly refuses. In the back, the squad leader sits shaking, swearing this nobody won't get away with it. A couple of classmates head off talking, saying Squad 3 should swap out its leader. They grumble he only ran things to make himself look good during the squad battle. One guy in a red hoodie sits nearby, soaking up every word about how sharp Seyun is. Seyun shows up mid-fight with her blade out, while a girl gushes she's totally fallen. Two others figure she'll take that spot soon, while the hooded guy just listens in. His hand crushes the paper cup flat, and he mutters her name under his breath. It's the squad leader himself, teeth clenched, burning at every word he'd just heard. At lunch, Seyun flops onto Jin's shoulder and cheerfully calls him her partner. She hangs off him and says the two of them should go grab lunch together. Jin throws his hands up and insists he can't, since he's got cleaning duty. She calls him a liar, since he's the most popular guy in the whole school now. Jin gripes to himself that everyone else only sneaks looks and never once talks. He tries the busy excuse again, then lists blackboards and mopping the floor. Seyun plants a hand on the desk, asking if even the leader could clear that pile. She leans over him, stunned he also cleans for other squads and the entire class. A dark aura and a red glare bloom behind her, while Jin laughs the whole thing off. He grins with both hands up, swearing it's simpler if one guy just handles it all. Her eyes narrow to a cold, flat stare, and she repeats that word right back. Seyun's face twists, teeth grinding, and she orders him to get up and follow. She grabs Jin by the collar and hauls him off, ignoring his yelp that he's busy. From there, she drags him across the floor to hunt whoever keeps ditching chores. His shoes skid through a doorway as he begs her to wait, swearing that he's fine. Seyun bangs into the lunchroom and marches up to a table with a question ready. The kid running Squad 4's cleaning and his buddy glance up, asking what she wants. Seyun asks flat out why they keep dumping that job on her own squad's recruit. The kid just cackles and says it's only because the guy sits way down at F rank. She kills the excuse dead and clamps a hand around his entire jaw. Her grip tips his drink over as she calls bullying weaker kids really disgraceful. Seyun flashes a slow, creepy smile and asks if he's catching her meaning yet. Her palm smothers his mouth while his eyes bug out and sweat runs down. He caves fast, a muffled sorry spilling out while his buddy nods along. Seyun points at Jin and says that's who the kid should apologize to, so he caves. She hauls him to their homeroom teacher, who hands Seyun all the chore duty. Seyun beams and salutes, while Jin buries his face, dreading what comes next. She rests both hands on a mop and announces she's splitting the squad's chores. Seyun starts dealing out jobs, shoving the mop at Jin and the rest off to work. One squadmate balks and snaps that the F rank should be doing all of it, not them. Jin's hand shoots up to cut in, and the loud one flinches back at the sudden move. Seyun's dark aura drops over both of them as she asks if anyone's objecting. They fold. The squad leader strolls up calling her vice leader, so she offers him a mop too. He bristles and points, calling her just his subordinate who owes him the title. Seyun mulls it over and admits that sure, technically he outranks her right now. Then she shrugs he's annoying enough to just take his leader spot herself. The squad leader loses it and roars back, demanding to know what she just said. She smirks, shoves his face aside, and mock asks the squad leader if she can go. He stops her, telling her to hit the rooftop after class about squad business. Seyun shrugs a yes, while nearby Jin ducks low, muttering that this looks bad. The bell rings and a pair of shoes climbs the stairwell one slow step at a time. Jin leans past the railing, watching Seyun's braid vanish up toward the roof. He grips the rail and cranes up, clocking that she's really going all the way up. Jin creeps up after her, muttering that this whole setup smells awfully familiar. A sly grin spreads as he pieces together exactly what's about to go down. He climbs on, figuring their squad leader is in for a very rough afternoon. Up top, Jin peeks through a doorway as Seyun asks what this meeting is even about. The squad leader saunters onto the roof, asking if she's really playing dumb here. He grins she should get it by now, while a crew of students fans out behind him. Seyun only smirks, dryly calling their squad leader honestly pretty impressive. She scans the crowd of backup and adds that he's clearly quite popular too. The squad leader chuckles she's still his member and swears he won't touch her. She waves him off, asking if he can't even talk without a whole crowd at his back. Then she calls him flat out embarrassing, and his grin sinks into an ugly laugh. The crew closes in to teach their vice leader a lesson, while Jin watches from the door, looking way too calm. The crew closes in to teach Seyun a lesson, and she just points at her own face. She stares the squad leader down, stunned that he thinks he can school her. The squad leader cracks his knuckles, grinning that she needs a proper lesson. Seyun looks completely bored and just asks him what his problem even is. He looms over her and pulls rank, saying a vice leader has to obey the boss. She smirks and asks if he is even stronger or smarter than her, and he freezes. Seyun presses on, asking when rank alone ever decided who was actually skilled. She lays it out, beat her in strength or in brains, or he has no claim on her. The squad leader scratches his head, temper climbing as he growls that she is trash. Then his grin snaps wide and he yells for everyone to pull out their Edeya. His crew answers, and solid clubs and bats take shape right in their hands. Most of these kids only carry plain melee Edeya with no fancy ranged tricks. Seyun tilts her head, asking if he is the one who finds this whole thing pathetic. She waves it off and tells him to quit the nonsense already. Weapons hem her in on both sides and she calmly sets a hand on her hip. She nods at the security office. Edeya brawls on campus get you punished. The weak kids, she figures, can swing their Edeya freely and never trip an alarm. The squad leader smiles, because he built this trap with 15 kids and their Edeya. His grin stretches ear to ear, certain he already cracked how to beat her. Her Edeya only hits full power with a real blade, and today her hands are empty. The way he sees it, a monster who can't use her Edeya loses to weaklings who can. He bets 15 bodies bury her, sneering that she will regret talking back. The squad leader throws his arm out and gives the order to swarm her. Seyun taps her chin, reminding the crew that their leader is famous around school. The campus glows at sunset while she asks what his reputation should tell them. The squad leader snaps back, asking what nonsense she is even spouting now. Seyun strolls forward, saying they know her Edeya rank, then floats a question. Her heel taps the ground as she asks what her real combat rank actually is. Two of the kids flinch hard, and the squad leader barks that her act is all fake. He reminds them the whole crew is armed and screams at them to push forward. Seyun opens her arms, saying he should have planned this well in the squad fight. She presses a finger to her temple and asks if he slept through that class. Her aura flares as she says one A rank can handle 100 people ranked below A. Then her Edeya wakes, the white jade goblin. White hair, small horns, a wide grin. She explains that any real rank means you already learned to fight a whole mob. Even at half her strength, she asks the shaking kid what his odds really are. A foot slams down as the squad leader roars that she has no weapon at all. He points hard and orders the entire crew to jump her all at once. One kid steadies his bat, hyping himself up that she is completely defenseless. Both fists clamp the handle as he blurts out that they can do this. Then he lunges, hauling the bat straight down toward her head. Seyun slides aside and the kid sails right past her, howling as he goes. She says she likes his curiosity, but his straight rush is way too honest. Her eyes flick sideways and the crew's nerve cracks into a stunned what? One of them jerks back, sweat pouring, choking out that there is no way. His arms shake as it lands. Unarmed, Seyun is still completely untouchable. Then she moves, and bodies go flying with one strangled ack after another. She stands dead center in the wreck, arms open, purring out a lazy strike. One leg whips out low and sweeps the next kid clean off his feet. She drops another mid-charge and he tumbles backward with a sharp yelp. Seyun spins into the next one and knocks him flat before he even reacts. Another kid catches a hit square and folds over from the force. A knee drives into a stomach and lifts that one right off the ground. Seyun straightens up as the kid crumples down beside her, finished. One on the ground clutches his neck, gasping that she is strong with no blade. Seyun rests a fist on her waist as another groans they cannot beat an A rank. She steps toward a crouching kid, saying they fold far too fast to ever rank up. That kid explodes that she was born chosen and never once had to grind for it. He demands if a born genius with a rich Edeya knows how the talentless hurt. Seyun bends to his level, agreeing he has no choice but to see it that way. Then she tells him her overall combat rank started all the way down at D. The kid's face goes slack as he stammers back a disbelieving D rank. The squad leader calls it a lie, since the whole country knows her famous family. He shouts that nobody alive would ever believe someone like her lacked talent. Seyun opens her arms and owns it. Top tier Edeya stuck in a bottom tier body. She never wanted to pick up a sword, but her Edeya flat out demanded it of her. The kids still upright keep shaking their heads, whispering it cannot be real. Seyun dips her head, telling them they will never credit the effort she spent. Then she lifts a hand, calm as ever, saying none of that even matters now. She opens her palm, then curls it into a fist, the effort she poured in. The squad leader loses it, charging in with his crew and screaming at her to shut up. Seyun stands over all 15 of them without a scratch, and that monster shares a squad with the guy still pretending to be worthless. Panels 1 to 72 in chars, 5,500/5,200. The whole crew lies scattered across the rooftop and only the squad leader is still standing. Seyun looks down at the bodies and tells him she saved him for last on purpose. The squad leader grits his teeth and spits that his crew was always just trash. Seyun stays calm and says the second she handles him, this whole thing is finished. But the squad leader only smirks and tells her fine. It can't be helped. He spreads his arms wide inside a dark aura and tells the goblin to hurry up. The confidence throws Seyun off, and she quietly wonders if he is hiding an ace. She shrugs it away, figuring even a hidden trick will not save him now. Seyun tells him to brace his stomach, then loads a punch straight at his gut. Her fist rips forward as she commits to smashing clean through him. White light floods her knuckles as her goblin power pours into the hit, but the squad leader grins that she fell for it, since she always spares faces. Their bodies collide in a blur with her loaded fist closing in on him. Then he does the unthinkable and turns to catch that punch flush on his face. He wants it to look like Seyun beat him down one-sidedly for no reason. A visible face wound means suspension or expulsion, and he will gladly eat the pain. Her knuckles are a hair from his grin when a hand clamps down and freezes them. Someone slipped in and caught Seyun's fist, muttering that one was way too close. The squad leader's eyes blow wide and he barely chokes out the word trash. It is Jin, and he tells the stunned squad leader his pretty nose nearly got shattered. The squad leader gasps how he even got here, and Jin answers by crushing his hand. Jin coos a fake little oops, then asks if the squad leader is doing alright down there. The squad leader glares up and snaps at Seyun, asking if she dragged this trash over. Seyun points at Jin and swears she did not, saying he only tailed her on his own. Jin sighs that nobody wants him around no matter where he shows up. Seyun keeps staring at him because none of what just happened adds up. The rooftop door sits way across the roof, and that is where Jin slipped in. She replays how he threw that door open and crossed the whole roof in a blink. Jin cut between her and the squad leader before her fist could even land. His bare hand caught her full swing and held it there with zero effort. No F-rank moves like that, and Seyun burns to know what Jin really is. Out of nowhere, Jin points out how far the sun has already dropped. The squad leader flinches hard and shakes out his stinging hand. He stares at a few plastic shards sitting in his palm and asks what they are. Jin smiles at the sunset and says they should all head home and drop this. The squad leader clutches his gut and demands who Jin is to end anything. He jabs a finger at both of them and threatens to report it to the teacher. Jin plays dumb, asking what he did wrong when he just saved the guy's skin. Seyun smirks that their trainee rescued that ugly face, so the trick is dead. The squad leader grins right back and brags he has been recording the whole thing. He nods at a hidden camera and swears the footage will bury them both. His whole face splits into a nasty grin, certain he has already won. Then Jin dangles a small broken gadget and asks if he means this hidden camera. The camera lies crushed to pieces on the grass, and the squad leader freezes. Jin says, "Oh, that was a camera. He figured it was just some wall decoration." He adds that he grabbed it as a cushion, so the whole plan is toast now. Seyun's curiosity boils over, and she says there is one thing she has to know. She asks the trainee straight up how he stopped her fist, and Jin freezes. Jin whines that he only helped, so why is she gripping him like this? The crew tries to write it off as luck, since no F-rank should pull that off. Behind them, the squad leader calls out a rough, "Hey, you two are not done." Seyun hauls Jin off by the arm while he begs her to let go if they are walking. She tells the crew to quit whining about low ranks and learn from their trainee. The squad leader growls that it still is not too late for Jin to reconsider. His face hardens as he warns the trainee one more time to think it through. Seyun keeps her grip on Jin as that warning trails off behind them. The two of them walk off together and Jin just gives a meek little okay. A voice teases that Seyun sounded exactly like some senior she cannot stand. Seyun snaps she is nothing like that pighead while the squad leader curses to himself. Then everything drops into darkness and a bloody knife drips in a stranger's grip. A voice screams to stay back. Blood smeared over a wall and a torn calendar. A dark figure looms over someone crouched low, the blade still in his hand. The person underneath shrieks the word monster up at whoever is standing there. Blood streaks down a door as a small kid's voice says the uncle was like this too. Bloody little footprints trail across the floor while that child keeps talking. A blood-soaked figure fills the doorway over a body, and the kid asks, "Right, uncle?" The face lifts up drenched in red, wearing a wide and deeply wrong smirk. Then an alarm blares and a dark-haired guy jolts upright out of his blanket. A bedside clock flips to 6 in the morning while it keeps beeping at him. Jin drags a hand down his sweating face, already worn out before the day starts. He sinks onto the mattress with a groan and mutters that it is this dream again. Warning light hits the city as another long school day kicks off for Jin. Seyun leans in and squints at Jin, catching how drained he looks this morning. She asks her trainee straight out what is bothering him today. Jin brushes it off with a weak laugh and says he is honestly just tired. The whole squad walks on while only the sergeants heard where this class is. Their shoes tap the pavement as they guess the first aid class waits ahead. Then they end up outside a tall building, unsure why the lesson is out here. The sergeant throws his hand up at a bank sign and asks if this is really it. The squad huddles on the curb while strangers ask if they are Heian High. 3 cheerful kids wave and grin, then tease that the squad showed up late. The sergeant scowls and demands to know who these grinning newcomers are. One stranger says they would rather meet Seyun, who supposedly is a genius. The sergeant snaps that Seyun is in his squad, so they can bring it to him. Then he puffs up and barks his full rank, demanding once more who they are. The strangers smirk and ask the sergeant how they look to a real soldier. The sergeant loses it and yells that these guys are nothing but pathetic trash. A calmer Seojung kid steps in and tells his own friends to quit the teasing. He apologizes for the crew and admits his classmates got a little too excited. Then a taller Sejung boy steps up smirking, and the squad wonders who he is. He points at himself and says plainly that his group all comes from Seojung. The boy offers a hand and warmly calls the sergeant his brand new Heian friend. The sergeant smacks it aside, grabs his collar, and barks at him to explain. Another Seojung kid laughs and waves for everyone to settle down right now. Seyun's braid whips as she cuts in, warning their training score is dropping. She wedges herself between the two before any real fists start flying around. Seyun rounds on the loud Seojung boy too, and tells his side to knock it off. He lights up, blurts that he is Seonghwa, and beams about finally meeting her. Seyun stays all business and asks why Seojung came instead of the medic class. She keeps the weapon on her shoulder and flatly demands a straight answer. Seonghwa grins and reveals that his own crew is the first aid class she wants. He adds they are Seojung's second years and says they look forward to today. Heading inside, Seonghwa admits nobody actually knows why class is at a bank. He guesses the branch wants to show off students from both schools for image. Inside stands a huge man in a black suit, and the empty branch feels too quiet. Seonghwa notes the place got reserved for them, with not one customer around. The big man passes them a paper and confirms they are the trainees for today. 3 giant guards line up in matching suits, and the kids gawk at their size. Seyun steps up and opens with a crisp greeting on behalf of her Haeun squad. She names herself the section leader and says she looks forward to the day. 2 bankmen beam and gush about how young yet mature this girl already is. Seyun holds a flat face and repeats that they should just hand her a task. The manager jokes he would hire her one day, and she calmly turns him down. In her head, she fumes that nobody here treats her squad as real combat power. She leans back with folded arms, admitting the squad still needs its points. Seyun grips her weapon and calls to Seonghwa, who says to drop the formalities. She ignores that and greets him right back with his full stiff name anyway. Seyun splits both classes into 4 teams, so they look sharp for the branch. A nearby student lights up when a clerk offers everyone free snacks and drinks. Seyun frowns that both sides are way too loose, acting like this is playtime. Seonghwa wanders off toward coffee and invites her squad to grab drinks too. Seyun secretly perks up over a parfait and iced coffee, sure nothing goes wrong. She rests her weapon on the wall while a clerk promises her any drink she wants. Off by a pillar, Jin stands alone, telling himself nothing big happens today. Then Seonghwa pops up at his side with a loud hello, and Jin nearly jumps. Jin blinks and mutters a hello, realizing this is that Seonghwa from Seojung. Seonghwa asks if Jin was with Seyun before, and the question puts him on edge. Seonghwa assumes Jin has a crush and offers to help, but Jin waves it off fast. Seonghwa pats his empty pockets and offers Jin bread instead, but Jin passes. Seonghwa's grin turns sly, and he says there is really one thing he is after. Then he leans in and says the one thing he is curious about is Jin himself. Seonghwa flashes a bright grin and offers to grab them both a cold drink. He points down the hall, saying he just spotted a vending machine over there. Jin gives a flat little okay, already wary of why this kid is so friendly. In his head, Jin wonders if he should report this to his sergeant or section leader. He decides it should be fine and lets it go while the machine drops a can. A hand pulls the frosted red can out of the slot, cold mist rolling off it. Jin tips it back and gulps the icy drink down in one go. Seonghwa laughs that Jin looks so carefree, and Jin only groans how cold it is. The guess that he is some ace makes Jin choke back a laugh behind his glasses. Jin plays it off as an act, while Seonghwa wonders how this loner stays so relaxed. Jin just chuckles and calls it a personal motto he sticks to no matter what. Seonghwa buys it, then leans in asking what Jin's overall combat rank really is. Jin points right at himself and answers, dead flat, that he is F rank. Seonghwa cries that he must be lying, so Jin doubles down as the F rank double champion. Still sure it's a joke, Seonghwa grabs his collar, but Jin swears he means every word. That only makes it weirder for Seonghwa, so Jin asks what he even wants to discuss. Jin keeps his face calm, giving away nothing about who he really is. Jin tosses his empty can and it drops clean into the bin, stunning Seonghwa. Seonghwa calls it incredible, but Jin shrugs that he only threw a can. Fired up now, Seonghwa winds up to sink his own can just the same. Seonghwa admits it's harder than it looks, and Jin notes his reflexes are weak too. Seonghwa says being poor at combat is what pushed him onto the first aid path. Then he asks how an F rank like Jin lasts a single day in a combat class. Jin grins that Seyun carries him through everything, and the rest is pure luck. He flips it around and asks what Seonghwa's own Edeya actually is. Seonghwa lifts his hand and it hardens into a gleaming blade, a solid C+ Edeya. He shows it off, proud of a good power with plenty of room to grow. Then his face falls, since years have passed and it never advanced even once. Jin reads him at once and guesses he wants to transfer into the combat class. Seonghwa sheepishly admits that is exactly why he asked how Jin survives it. For a beat, Jin goes quiet, turning the whole thing over behind his glasses. Jin tells him first aid is better because it actually lets you save people. He swears it beats a combat-only Edeya 1,000 times over. Seonghwa brightens as Jin insists, telling him to carry way more confidence. Jin pats his shoulder and says to loosen up and be a lot more carefree. Deep down, Seonghwa aches with envy, wishing his own Edeya could save people too. He shrugs it away and says the two of them should head back now. Outside, a city bus rolls past the quiet bank where the class is being held. The proctor jogs up late in a red tracksuit and waves an apology to the two waiting. The teacher notes that the kids have already wandered on ahead inside. The proctor pulls out a score sheet and asks the Haeyeon teacher to grade them now. He frets they watched nothing, but the teacher tells him to just wing it. The teacher figures no real lesson happens here, so he ranks the usual top kids. He calls the whole thing a token drill, and the proctor thanks him for being chill. The teacher scribbles the grades, stamping Jin with a flat F, then wants coffee. The two stroll off chatting about coffee, sure this dull day is basically over. Over by the doors, two of the squad slouch around bored, sure nothing will happen. A squad mate dares the sergeant to rock paper scissors over who buys the drinks. Their hands shoot out for the throw as one of them spots people walking in. One kid lazily wonders what to drink, while another gawks at the strange outfits. Figures in full tactical armor march in, and a student jokes that it's group cosplay. One of the squad stiffens as the armored line keeps pushing in closer. The teacher suddenly bolts back through, glass shattering, a curse breaking off his lips. He screams out for the students with raw panic all over his face. He shoves the nearest kids aside with a sharp yell at them to move. A hand yanks a student out of the way as the boy yelps in shock. Then a heavy blow lands and a body is flung through a burst of dark energy. The proctor swings a hardening tonfa, roaring at them to run for the back door. Jin and another kid freeze, half wondering if the monster is part of the drill. A pair of red eyes flares in the dark, and a cold voice calls it wasted effort. The teacher screams at them to run even as a blade tears straight into him. A red-haired attacker seizes Seonghwa, mutters "see you," and blood sprays out. Armored soldiers loom over a fallen body, one of them sneering, "South Korean comrade." The leader grins with glowing red eyes and tells the room to excuse him a moment. Two bank guards scramble back, and one shouts to ask who these people are. The leader shoulders a huge greatsword while the guards clock his northern accent. One guard's face twists as he asks if the man is a North Korean spy. A masked soldier by a heavy sack says he is only here to play beggar for a while. A gloved hand tosses a bag over and warns them to fill it or lose their heads. The lead guard's jaw tightens, done taking orders from a robber. Boots scrape into place as the guards spread out into fighting stances. 4 guards square up, and the leader asks if they missed the part about the bag. His scarred face fills the frame as he warns them to behave while he stays polite. One guard calls him a robber bastard, while his calmer partner holds steady. The leader grins wider and needles them about whether South Koreans have bad ears. Then he hauls the greatsword overhead and dares them to fly at him like moths. Seyun, a white-haired student, screams at the guards to fall back before they die. The leader drops into a crouch and orders his own men to step aside. His eye locks onto the guards, cold and certain of how this ends. One swing later, a guard's body slams to the floor and a student screams. Seyun stares as a classmate asks if he is dead. That guard held a B-rank shield. The guard hangs slumped on the wall, his strong defense carved straight through. The leader flicks blood off his blade and sneers, asking if that is all they have. He turns away, calling the guards useless, and Seyun pegs him as A-rank at least. Seyun spins to the students and shouts for everyone to take cover. She plants herself dead center, pointing hard as two figures get flung past her. A dark-haired kid ducks low, while Seyun orders everyone to run for the desks. Feet pound the floor, and a panicked wail goes up as they scatter for cover. The leader watches them dive behind the counters and asks if he needs a weight ticket. Seyun throws out a hand and calls on every student to manifest their Edeya now. The leader hoists his dripping greatsword and casually asks to take some money. A red-haired kid breaks down, and Seyun yells at all of them to hold firm. Seyun spreads her arms over two classmates, telling them to hold out for the cops. The leader nudges the bag with his boot and says fellow Koreans should help out. Behind her steady eyes, Seyun admits she is not sure she can face this man alone. 3 armored soldiers loom at his back, and she clocks that they look strong too. The leader explains they came for help because their pockets felt a little light. From across the counter, he asks the bold girl her name, and she gives it, Seyun. He presses her, and Seyun decides she has to stall him for any time she can get. She fires back that real spies would not rob a bank dressed like that for money. The leader rolls his eyes and says she keeps harping on spies and espionage. His grin splits wide as he decides to just tell her exactly who they are. Seyun tenses, thrown that a criminal would openly reveal his own identity. He raises an arm before his soldiers and names them the Great Pestilence Syndicate. The name lands hard, and Seyun freezes as the word pest flashes through her head. 5 red-eyed figures rise in the dark, a group that wages war on all humanity. A burned-out dome smolders red, marking a place where not one soul survived. Bloody rubble is all they leave, their only trail a total lack of survivors. 2 students go pale, stunned that Peste is even operating out of the north. The leader scatters papers, calls the name Peste too westernized, and wants his money. A red-haired kid panics and begs them to just stuff the bag with all they have. The leader's scarred grin widens, and he murmurs how surprising all this is. A single tear slips down Seyun's cheek, and her face hardens into a cold calm. She straightens up in her uniform and tells the panicking students to calm down. Seyun warns them the man never promised to spare anyone after taking the money. The leader studies her horn and pale hair, smirks, and says that makes things easy. Seyun steps up over his bloody blade and simply tells him, let's fight. Under her breath, she admits she has to bait this leader into a one-on-one fight. He chuckles that he can tell she is wondering if he will fall for her trick. Seyun spreads her arms wide, betting he will not gang up on one lone student. The leader laughs that he likes her nerve and figures she is from the Goblin family. The 2 lock eyes, grinning, and Seyun asks flat out if the terrorist will fight. He drives the bloody greatsword point first into the floor, the blade glowing hot. Then he bows over the hilt and tells the Goblin girl he accepts her challenge. The leader lifts his bloody greatsword overhead and dares Seyun to come at him. She grins, clocking how he hands her the first swing, sure her taunt trapped him. 2 masked soldiers step aside, and she bets he cannot break his word before them. Her hand drops to her hip for a sword that is not there, and Seyun freezes. She looks over her shoulder and remembers she set the blade down while resting. The weapon leans against a pillar across the room, and she curses her timing. The leader snaps her back, asking the woman where she thinks she is looking. He lunges in first instead, warning that if she will not swing, he happily will. The greatsword catches Seyun mid-turn, and a choked grunt tears out of her. She slams into the floor and skids through broken tile onto both hands. Her jaw clenches as she knows one clean hit from this monster finishes her, but his swing shattered the ground, leaving heavy slabs of concrete around her. Seyun grabs a chunk of the broken floor and hauls it up, finally armed with a slab. The leader's eyes widen and he mocks the cheap ambush after all her big talk. The slab crashes into him and a burst of purple light throws the boss backward. Seyun grits her teeth and swears, since even that blow was not enough to drop him. The leader shrugs it off, scoffing her goblin soul flits about like a flying squirrel. Below, the students watch her trade blows with a boss twice her size and cheer. The crowd breaks into chanting her name, while Seyun stays locked in close close with him. Jin ducks behind the counter, thinking this is no moment for anybody to cheer. Beside him, Seonghwa laughs. He always knew she was popular, matching the Peste boss. Jin grips Seonghwa's shoulder and tells him straight this fight is not even close. He says they need to run right now, and Seonghwa blinks and asks run off where? Jin points up and names a bathroom stall or a locker, anywhere slow to search. Back in the fight, Seyun leaps clear and reminds herself to drag this out longer. The great sword crashes down once more and rips another sharp cry out of her. She shoves back to her feet through the dust, swaying but stubbornly upright. Then Seyun drops for real, and his bloody blade stands planted in the tile by her. The leader hauls her up by the hair and calls time on their game of cat and mouse. The students pale, sure nobody among them is stronger, and fear they are finished. Blood runs down her chin, yet Seyun smirks and tells the boss to go test her. He stands over her waving the slab and bellows for everyone in the bank to gather. Students bolt for the stairs, one of them yelping that he is running up right now. More kids scramble up the steps, shoving and shouting at each other to keep moving. Seonghwa and another student sprint past, screaming they will die if caught. The leader just watches them scatter, one hand raised, chasing no one at all. Flanked by two soldiers, he praises their quick thinking as one asks for orders. He tells them to catch every comrade of that rat, and the soldiers salute and split. Boots hammer toward the stairs as the hunt for the runaway students kicks off. The leader figures the kids all get dragged back soon enough anyway. He pinches Seyun's cheek and she catches that he wants them taken alive. That leaves her room to stall, so Seyun plants her feet and stays upright. The leader says he likes her grit, admitting she may be more useful than he guessed. Then he flatly asks her to join him and Seyun fires back. There is no way in hell. He shrugs that women line up around the block just for a chance to be with him. Seyun rolls her eyes and asks how she trusts a bank terrorist without any proof. He puffs up, says he forgot his manners, and announces his name is Kim Il-jung. Seyun stares back at the boss, totally blank, and manages one flat, unimpressed what. He throws an arm high and declares himself the shining sun of all North Korea. Seyun repeats the name, and it lands on her as the greatest chairman of the North, supposedly their sharpest politician and their finest military commander at once. On top of that, the strongest Edeya alive, now whining he needs a talented wife. Seyun backs into a stance. Floored, the real Kim Il-jung came to a place like this. He asks why she suddenly retreats and sighs. This is exactly why he hides his name. She laughs shakily that a world-famous criminal like him must carry a giant bounty. Under her breath, Seyun plots to buy her whole squad street food with that reward. The leader tips his head back laughing that she still keeps her nerve right now. His eye glints as he wonders if raiding a bank full of students was the real mission. The trip was worth it, he decides, while Seyun quietly sets her stance nearby. He reaches out for her and says the winner is settled, so the woman should behave. An orange blade suddenly slides across the tile between their feet toward her hand. It flips up into her grip while the leader stares and blurts a single baffled, "What?" Seyun catches the sword grinning and admits there is still plenty she must learn. Behind her, a giant blue-horned spirit roars upward, her goblin soul snapping awake. Her blade flares to life in her hand, since using that soul right only needed this. Up on the higher floors, a masked soldier snatches a screaming girl mid-run. Another soldier clamps a boy by the collar, and the kid screams at him to let go. Down the hall, two more soldiers stand over a heap of students sprawled on the tile. A floor below, a restroom door swings shut behind two boys looking for cover. Inside, Seonghwa slumps against the wall, gasping while Jin stands by the stalls. Jin scans the spotless room and decides a bank must keep even its bathrooms clean. Seonghwa grabs his shoulder and says they should climb higher where the other kids went. Jin raises both hands and tells him it will be fine, so just breathe for now. Seonghwa studies him, sweating, and asks if Jin is actually okay right now. Jin just blinks and asks why, unbothered by the manhunt going on outside. Seonghwa pictures the guards torn apart, blood still smeared across the floor. The blood should rattle Jin too, yet he stays calm, and that scares Seonghwa more. Seonghwa swallows it and warns that staying here gets them both caught fast. He wants to bolt higher, but Jin's mind goes to Seyun stalling the leader below. On the lower floor, Seyun leaps clear as the leader's red slash tears past her. Jin knows she loses in the end, so he decides running solves nothing here. Then Jin faces his friend and says the two of them have to fight the soldiers. Seonghwa gasps the trained guards already fell, so a C rank and an F rank have no shot. Jin sets a hand on his knee and asks him whether souls even come with ranks. Seonghwa asks where this is coming from, and Jin says he once overheard talk about Seyun. Back when she was young, Seyun sat at D rank, and now she fights at A rank. Jin lifts a hand and argues that Edeya can never be the final measure of a person, person. He tells Seonghwa there is no reason to feel crushed about his own rank. A low whir carries down the hall as a masked soldier moves past the doorway. Jin goes quiet, a bead of sweat sliding down his temple as he listens. Heavy boots thud closer, one slow step after another across the tile. Seonghwa panics and whispers that they are here and have to hide right now. Jin calmly says Seonghwa owns a better Edeya that could take all sorts of upgrades. Seonghwa hisses at him to be quiet before the soldier finds them both. Jin grips his shoulder and tells him to trust him and follow his every word. Then Jin leans in close, grinning wide as he grabs a fistful of Seonghwa's collar. The soldier stops at the sinks and calls the boys out, saying he can hear them. He warns the leader hates slowpokes, and Jin calls back, praising his accent from a stall. Jin pokes his head out from the door, glasses flashing, wearing a wide grin. The soldier snaps at him to quit playing and threatens to take an arm or a leg. Jin laughs that the soldier talks big now that his leader walked off, and loves it. Then he clicks his fingers and calls his weapon out, a red dagger. The red blade flickers into his grip and he points it at the masked man. Behind the mask, the soldier scoffs, asking if that little thing is his soul's essence. Blue light floods the soldier's legs as he tells Jin to quit the nonsense. He blurs forward to grab Jin, his Edeya rocketing him from 0 to top speed at once. Jin shoves Seonghwa toward the door and tells him to run exactly as they planned. The soldier twists after them, snarling that he will capture both boys at once. Then his real power wakes, and blood-red light floods the hall as his true Edeya ignites. Jin rises with the dagger low, wrapped in a red glow, his hidden S-rank fully unleashed. This Edeya, absolute murder, triples every physical limit his body has. Jin catches the charging soldier bare-handed and stops all that speed cold. He leans into the mask, smirking, and mocks the soldier for being far too slow. The soldier chokes out a curse, stunned that this F-rank kid is manhandling him. Jin whips past the soldier, blood spraying as the blade rakes across his body. He clamps a hand over the soldier's face and cackles a mock apology. Sorry, so sorry. The soldier screams, then chokes that Jin was insane this whole time. Jin tilts his bloodied face, glasses catching the light, and just hums back at him. The soldier's legs shake under him as fear finally cracks through his armor. Jin pins him to the wall and coos that instant speed must be so convenient. The soldier panics that Jin even read his soul, and Jin offers to slice his Achilles heel. Jin lifts the dripping dagger and asks what happens when the key to an Edeya breaks. He presses the blade near the soldier and wonders aloud if the rank just drops. Jin swings the dagger high over the pinned soldier, teasing that the routes are endless. Now he looms over the broken soldier, his absolute murder flooding the room with bloodlust. Across the room, Seonghwa stares, pale and shaking, and whispers Jin's name in shock. Jin turns from the body, soaked in blood, the dagger still hanging from his hand. Seonghwa backs off on trembling legs, barely able to keep himself standing. Jin leans toward him through the gore, smiling, and asks if Seonghwa just called him. He keeps pressing, grinning, and demands to know why the name left Seonghwa's mouth. Blood pools around the soldier's still body, while Seonghwa begs him to stop and run. Seonghwa stumbles back from the corpse, hands raised as Jin crouches in the red mess. Jin laughs that he has it all wrong and asks who really needs to run right now. He tilts his head at the frozen boy and presses him for an answer, still grinning. Jin says the name again, and his power stays on until the enemy's Edeya breaks or their life ends. Jin's face sits in a red glow, dead calm, his glasses catching the light. He faces Seonghwa, his whole suit soaked red, and drags out his friend's name. Behind them, the masked soldier still clings to his weapon, bloodied and barely up. The soldier strains against the grip, green light flaring, snarling at Jin to move. Jin's glasses flash white, one sharp gleam sliding across the lenses. Then Jin drives a hit home, and the soldier folds as a choked grunt tears out. The blow throws the soldier sideways, boots skidding over the bloody tile. A few steps away, Seonghwa just stands frozen, whispering Jin's name again. Jin turns to him and lays out the idea of a hand hardening into a blade. He keeps going, saying the entire body could become one unbreakable blade. A white sneaker pushes off the floor as Seonghwa finally bolts for the exit. He sprints away, glancing back, blurting a rushed sorry for running out first. Jin turns back to the soldier, whose head hangs low while he stammers in fear. The soldier coughs hard and asks if Jin has completely lost his mind. Jin only grins, eyes glowing red, and says he will take the 13th route. The soldier panics inside, desperate to warn the leader about this hidden power. Then Jin swings the red dagger down, and that thought dies in one wet slash. The view drops to the bank's ground floor, chairs and desks thrown everywhere. Down there stands Seyun, white braid swaying, an ornate sword loose in her hand. The leader eyes her and calls it a pretty sword to match a pretty face. Seyun smirks and promises he will change his tune once she lands a hit. The leader swings first, asking if she can even handle facing him head on. His weapon comes down hard, a strange forked blade humming with dark power. Seyun snaps her guard up and a pink burst flares where the weapons meet. Their blades lock together, sparks spraying off the crossed steel. She just smiles behind the block and tells him the answer is obvious. The leader jerks back. Stunned, her blade shrugged his soul name aside. The leader pins her power on that Edeya, not muscle, calling the sword strange. He stares at the blade, realizing it can actually weaken his own soul name. Seyun grips the hilt and admits she basically robbed her family's vault for it. The blade glows among the stars, a relic called the Four Tigers' evil slayer. She calls out Goblin swordsmanship, and a second Seyun splits off by the leader. The leader laughs, delighted, and asks if she has no wish to join his side. Both Seyun's lunge, and she spits that scum like him is an absolute no. The leader hauls his weapon up, sighing that killing her would be a real waste. The two copies rush him from both flanks while he finishes the thought. His counter slams into Seyun, and she grits her teeth to hold the edge off. He carves a purple arc through the lobby and taunts her about losing her nerve. The leader bears down, grinding his edge on hers while she strains beneath it. He forces her low and notes he clearly wins any contest of raw strength. Seyun skids backward across the floor, sword raised, the leader looming close. Her heels dig into the tile as she slides, both hands clamped on the hilt. She grits down and shoves back hard, telling herself she is not finished yet. Seyun calls the technique again, and a fresh copy crashes into the leader. From 3 angles at once, she screams at him to try blocking that strike again. Even swinging back, she admits his blows come far too fast and too heavy. Her plan is simple. She strikes the instant his blade is busy with a copy. For now, she can barely eat the impact, both arms shaking through every clash. The leader grins wider and tells her, flat out, that he really likes her. Seyun hates it, but head on, the man simply outclasses her raw offense. She swallows her pride, aiming to stall while the phantom copies defend. He offers to recruit her again, and she scoffs that the deal is not enough. Seyun throws herself forward with a scream, both hands driving the blade in. Across the lobby, 2 soldiers drag a crying student who begs to be saved. More soldiers haul prisoners in, and Seyun sees they already caught other kids. She glances past them, sure the street outside should be crawling with cops. The leader turns and asks why they keep dragging captives in from outside. One soldier answers fast, explaining they split their forces into 2 groups. That first wave herded the students to a window to grab whoever leaped out. The other team waited below, while a few swept the floors upstairs. Seyun's head snaps up as it hits her that the military police never responded. Guards stand over captured kids outside, and the whole silence feels deeply wrong. The leader reaches for her, reading her face, asking why no help has come. He grins and says one comrade has sealed this entire place with a soul name. Seyun's stomach drops and she barely pushes the word isolated back out. Outside, the street looks normal, buses and shoppers passing a calm bank. No one out there knows the horror inside, and that cracks her whole plan open. Seyun sees that leaving to get help means the leader butchers everyone here. Her grip locks on the sword, and for once, Seyun has no idea what to do. The bank lobby sits silent as a cold voice asks the woman what just happened. Masked soldiers ring the hostages as the scarred leader taunts her fading energy. Nearby, a bank clerk in a suit grits his teeth, done watching people suffer. A soldier looms close, so the clerk waits for the second nobody watches him. He bolts past a shrieking teller and lunges for the service counter. The clerk dives at the desk and mashes the keyboard, unable to just sit still. His fingers find the hidden emergency button, and hope flickers on his face. He grabs the phone and shouts that the bank has been taken over. Behind the counter, the clerk begs the deadline, saying terrorists stormed in. His hand crushes the receiver as he asks again if anyone can hear him. The clerk stares at the handset, stunned there is no signal at all. A voice behind him calls him bank employee comrade, and his body locks up. The leader's scarred eyes narrow into a glare that freezes the clerk cold. The clerk turns, sweating, as the leader asks if he ignored the woman's warning. A soldier pins him while the leader explains a hiding soul jammed every phone. Two other hostages blurt that this is why nothing worked, panic on their faces. At the leader's boots, the clerk asks why he would rob a bank in broad daylight. The leader asks if he insults the work, calling every job equal under communism. The clerk stammers that once the troops find out, none of them will be safe. The leader just smirks and calls the South's old hero a rotting boomer. He raises his bloody forked blade, admits the South has him, and starts laughing. The clerk forces a shaky laugh too, terrified of what comes next. The blade drifts up to the clerk's face, and a strangled squeak leaks out. The leader levels his weapon and says the clerk needs a harsh lesson. The bloody edge presses to his mouth, and the clerk whispers a hopeless no. The leader says not to be sad as a soldier drags the clerk up by the hair. The blade rises over the cowering clerk, and Seyun screams at the leader to stop. He freezes and asks if she really just called him a monster from the north. The leader curses, while Seyun squares up and tells him to fight her instead. Seyun tells him to free the clerk, and he says it is her first time calling him that. Soldiers keep the clerk pinned as the leader asks if she knows what it means. The leader shuts his eyes and tells her flat out that she is wrong about him. He stands still as blood sprays past him and says she could never know. Seyun grips her sword tight as he says she would never call him that if she knew. His boots settle in a pool of blood while the clerk shrieks about his ruined leg. A glowing blade rips across the sobbing clerk and he begs to be spared. Seyun clenches her eyes shut, sweating, sick that she cannot stop this. From behind, she grips her blade and knows she can stall him but protect no one. The leader lifts his dripping weapon and reminds her she wanted this fight. He promises to cut off her arms and legs and carry her around in his bag. The leader grins wide and tells her to take the whole thing as an honor. The masked soldiers stop and turn together, every head snapping toward one spot. Xianghua steps in with both hands raised and mutters that he hates the spotlight. A soldier demands to know what he is, while Xianghua freezes by the counter. One soldier bows fast and promises to catch the runaway kid right away. Xianghua taps his cheek, plays it cool, and tells them all to wait 1 minute. Hands still raised, he laughs it off while his mind screams about Jin's insane plan. Xianghua swallows hard, a single bead of sweat rolling down his stiff smile. Across the floor, a student curls up shaking, and Xianghua thinks this is beyond chaos. Fresh blood streaks the pale tiles right where the hostages are packed. Xianghua recalls Jin telling him to run downstairs the second his power switches on. He had shot back, wide-eyed, and asked what happens to Jin alone up there. Jin had only smiled, an arm over his shoulder, swearing he believed in Xianghua. Now Xianghua keeps his hands raised, certain he did everything Jin asked. A soldier tells the South kid to introduce himself, so Xianghua gives his name and school. Grinning through nerves, Xianghua points up and swears the money sits on the 5th floor. A soldier calls that an odd spot for a safe, and Xianghua says a friend stashed it there. The leader's scarred face tightens as he repeats the word friend, now suspicious. Two soldiers flank the trembling kid as the leader asks why his men upstairs never returned. The leader snaps that a South brat is loose while his soldiers stand around idle. One soldier drops to a knee, throws a sharp salute, and cries out to his commander. Kneeling low, the soldier begs for one more chance and swears he will check upstairs. The leader steps in close over the kneeling man, his bloody weapon at his side. A gloved hand lands on the soldier's shoulder as the leader says his hands are tied. The leader smiles and orders him to bring back the money and the kid upstairs. The soldier snaps a grateful salute while more masked troops line up beside him. The leader tells the rest to go too, accepts nothing less, and they salute the North. His scarred eye glows red as he adds one more order for the South kid from upstairs. Xianghua flinches as the leader asks whether he will walk over here on his own. The leader's face burns red and he threatens to come drag the kid over himself. Xianghua caves with a shaky laugh and agrees, and the leader calls him a smart boy. From high above, the tiny figure of Xianghua crosses the lobby toward the leader. The leader says that while his men drag Jin down, boredom leaves him wanting fun. He looms over the hostages and points them toward the goblin woman across the room. Seyun lifts her sword as the leader offers to spare whoever brings him an arm or leg of hers. Seyun shuts her eyes, cornered, as the leader asks the hostages what they will do now. The scarred leader keeps his arms folded and calmly finishes his sick offer. Bring him an arm or a leg of Seyun's, he says. And that comrade gets to live. The offer lands on a knot of hostages, a clerk shielding 2 kids behind him. One of them squeezes his fists on his lap so hard that his arms start shaking. A beaten student leans over and asks if they could ever go up against Seyun. The leader only grins wider, glad to watch the room turn on itself. Another hostage snaps that they are crazy since Seyun has fought for them all along. The leader looms over his bloody sword while a hostage mutters the winner is set. 2 captives huddle low as the leader says he will start a timer, done with waiting. A blonde kid slams his fist while the glasses boy calls Seyun's family rich enough to save her. Seyun's face tightens, one tear on her cheek as a voice keeps calling her name. Seyun turns to find Seonghwa right beside her, and all she manages is a flat what. He leans in close, and Seyun just stares, thrown by how calm his face looks. He tells her not to worry too much, like the two are chatting after class. Seonghwa adds she only needs to hold on a bit longer, and she wonders how he slipped in unseen. Her mind races over why he left cover, and she snaps that he should have stayed hidden. Seonghwa laughs it off, says he came to help, and asks if the timing was bad. Off to the side, a girl breaks down sobbing, while 2 hostages watch, frozen stiff. The leader's gloved hand fills the frame as he sneers at the touching reunion. Seonghwa leans on her shoulder and says he has decided to be best friends with Jin. He beams with his eyes shut, weirdly proud of this random declaration mid-crisis. Seyun asks what the hell he means as white energy erupts around the leader behind him. The leader grinds his teeth and warns that stalling means nobody walks out alive. Blood spreads across the tiles while the shaken hostages sob out apologies to Seyun. Their faces go dark and hopeless as the leader asks Seonghwa whose side he is on. The leader flashes a bloody grin, already enjoying whatever answer is coming. Seonghwa scratches his head, gives a nervous laugh, and says, "Yeah, he guesses so." Up close, the leader's grin stretches wider as he says, "That is honestly not bad." He lifts a hand and offers to toss in an arm or a leg from Seonghwa as well. That way even more comrades live, he crows, and the hostages murmur that 10 could survive. Seonghwa grins while a captive begs Seyun for protection, and she jabs at the northern puppet. The leader's face sours, and he asks the woman if she really has to use that word. He asks what happens if he kills everyone, and Seyun asks if that spares her and Seonghwa. She pushes harder, demanding a way where the 2 of them also make it out alive. The leader lets out a low chuckle, teeth bared, clearly loving the request. His eyes flash red. He grabs his own hair and howls that she can dodge death. Seyun gives a quiet alright and draws her glowing blade in one smooth motion. She steps toward the crowd and 2 hostages flinch back from her boots. Seyun lunges at the sergeant, the one girl who looks ready to fight, as another yells wait. The sergeant's eyes go wide and her breath catches as the edge closes in. The leader cuts in, telling her to choose between Seyun's limb and her own neck. The sergeant screams at Seyun to pick the choice where most of them survive. She backs away fast, demanding if Seyun really means to save only 2 lives. Seyun's mouth curls as she names her goblin swordsmanship, and blue energy bursts off the edge. She splits into a row of after images and rushes the sergeant from every angle at once. The sergeant throws up a blazing fist and shouts the name of her striking glove. Her glove meets Seyun's guard as the leader barks at his sergeant to fight however she can. The sergeant blinks in confusion, feeling her fist connect with nothing solid. Her burning punch tears straight through Seyun's face and a scream rips loose. The blazing hit blows clean through with a bright flash and a heavy crack. Seyun's body scatters into blue shards, and the sergeant freezes at the sight. She realizes she only smashed a phantom copy, not the real swordswoman at all. The real Seyun snaps in behind her and locks her up with a red goblin blade. She pins the sergeant flat to the floor, sword ready, ignoring her furious shout. Seyun bends to her ear and whispers fast and low, and what she says stays hidden. The sergeant's eye snaps wide, whatever she just heard clearly hitting hard. They break apart and clash again, but her secret stays locked from everyone watching. 2 more hostages rush over, calling to their sergeant, asking if she is hurt. A worn-out captive notes Seyun's copy just vanished and figures she is running low. The group eyes Seonghwa and decides the useless kid beside her is the soft target. Seyun keeps her eyes shut, calm, like none of this rattles her one bit. She tells Xianghua to get behind her, and he stammers out a shaky okay. The leader throws his head back, cackling, and calls the whole scene very good. His scarred eye glows red, and his grin splits as he calls it damn amusing. Two trembling hostages raise their fists as he orders them to fight each other. Seyun grips her sword tighter while the leader's next command lands cold. He screams at them to kill each other, feeding on the panic he set loose. Away from the crowd, a masked guard stands watch as a red can sails at his head. The dented can rolls to a stop on the tiles right beside his boot. The guard turns, one eye glowing red, muttering what the hell that even was. At the top of the stairs stands Jin, his white shirt soaked in fresh blood. Shadow covers his face down to a single glowing red eye, and the chapter cuts out cold. A gloved hand lifts the dented can, and a low voice asks what it's even for. The North monster turns it over, muttering that this beat-up can actually matters. Nearby, a shaking man covers his nose, while Seyun stands stiff beside him. Then a red eye flares in the dark, and the monster barks the question again, louder. He stands in the wrecked room, huge blade out, and mutters that this is exciting. Looming over the floor, he promises to slice off an arm before things even start. Blue light coils around his throat, and he chokes hard on the sudden grip. His scarred face snarls as he roars that the brat is a son of a bitch. Standing over his bloody blade, he stares at the severed limbs on the tile. A closer look shows the mangled remains soaked in a pool of dark red. These, he growls, are the bodies of his own great pestilent syndicate comrades. His face fills the frame, veins bulging as he snarls, asking what is going on. He sprints in with the blade low, spitting that they underestimate him badly. A red eye blazes and light trails off him as he lunges with a sharp grunt. He leaps high, purple energy tearing loose as the captives cower under him. The captives throw their hands up and scream as the ceiling starts to give. Seyun fires off her Goblin phantom copies, pale after images flashing around him. He lands dead center in a white whirl of energy, blade still gripped tight. Seyun takes the hit and flies back, arms wide, blood streaking down her face. The monster calls Seyun strong and tells her to sit tight while he handles the rest. Seyun grits her teeth, sweat pouring, and calls out to the North monster in pain. He warns the South captives that if one runs out that door, all of them die. 3 hostages huddle close as he brags about backup waiting outside the building. He grins and asks the Goblin woman if the weak ones will come take her limbs now. Leaning back with a wide grin, he tells her to think it over carefully. Seyun, holding the ceiling on one arm, asks if he expects her to just wait for that. He shrugs that if she had another option, she wouldn't be propping that slab up. Then he drops through green light, sneering at them to take care of each other. The round slab sags low over the crowd, and Seyun strains to keep it off them. She warns them her arm is slipping, so anyone who wants to live moves now. A man in a jacket steps up and waves the people under the slab towards safety. Another captive panics and yells to wait, sure leaving means a student goes free. A boy in glasses shakes and asks if they're told to sit there and get crushed. The room erupts, one man insisting they must fight Seyun or the monster to survive. A calmer kid says she ran in to save them and wants everyone to break for the door. 2 men square off, one terrified the North monster comes back and hears the plan. Right then, a blonde girl strolls up, arms crossed, and calls out to Seyun by name. Seyun looks over, drenched under the slab, and breathes out the word squad leader. The scene cuts to Jin, blood on his grin and red eye glowing, chirping a bright hello. From above, he stands in a room of syndicate corpses, gloating they came one by one. The monster grins back, shaken, asking where this monster of a kid crawled out from. Jin giggles over his little dagger, while the monster asks if killing was that fun. The monster holds out a hand and offers Jin a real position in the syndicate. Jin studies the blood on his blade and hums like he's really weighing the offer. Then his eyes flash red, he chirps okay, and says the 9th route suits the man fine. Red energy spirals out in a coil as Jin launches straight off the floor. He rockets forward in red streaks, dagger first, closing the gap in a blink. He darts around the greatsword, and the monster laughs that the Peste won't hold still. Jin cackles that this is fun as their weapons scrape and throw sparks between them. The monster's grin fades, and he moves to show the brat the gap in raw strength. He clamps both hands on the hilt and barks at Jin to hold still for 1 second. He rips the greatsword across in a wide arc, and Jin folds under it in time. The monster smirks that he's got him, certain the little Peste is finally pinned. His hand clamps down, and he says that without his soul name, Jin cannot escape. Jin flips upside down through blue light as the red blade sweeps past him. Jin twists midair as the monster hauls the huge sword up, a swing that never stops. Jin grins wider and teases the mister about how crazy long his soul name runs. The monster freezes mid-swing, thrown off, and stammers out one confused what. Jin slips low through the blur of blades, blood trailing off his loose sleeve. Hanging over the raised sword, Jin keeps needling him about that absurdly long name. He skids across the floor untouched, asking how the guy made it stretch that far. The monster stares back, realizing the kid didn't just dodge that unstoppable swing. The monster gasps that Jin can read soul names, and Jin mocks the extra plus signs. Floating text tells Jin the sword can never stop once its owner commits to a swing. The monster admits he nearly fell for the trap, then demands the kid's real name. Jin beams with both eyes glowing red and tells him to just call him Jin. The monster chuckles, allows it, and notes that Jin carries a marvelous pair of eyes. Jin leans in close, gushing that the mister is the strongest guy he's met yet. The monster narrows his gaze, half sure Jin is begging to join the syndicate. Jin says he counts 9 of them, grinning that each one is a route to kill the guy. The monster laughs that he envies eyes like those, hefting his red blade for more. Jin swings his dagger through a spray of blood, chirping one route is all he needs. The monster grins the deals off and vows to beat him half dead for the chief. Their weapons crash together again, Jin still smiling as the fight tears onward. A smashed elevator fills the dark, doors ripped off, one red light still glowing. The leader lounges in an office chair, sure the trash below buys plenty of time. A whole city waits outside. Calling the cops now would only pull more people in. The leader leans back, hands behind the head, and decides to hide up here a while. Far below, the fight rages as Jin darts in, red eye glowing, that grin locked on. His tiny dagger scrapes down a massive greatsword, and pink light rips off the swing. Jin whips straight through the blade's arc, arm cocked back, still smiling wide. His face fills the screen mid-dash, teeth bared. The old man never caught the move. The old man is the monster from before, snarling as he hauls the greatsword around. From above, he spikes the red blade down, and Jin ducks under it, shoulder bleeding. Jin slides clear across the tile, dagger low, without one fresh scratch on him. The monster's scarred face twists, and he roars at the brat for dodging like a coward. He spits that the kid runs like a squirrel, all dodge and no hit, driving him mad. The monster swings again, sweat flying, but the kid just slips free once more. Jin bends way back under the cut, palm flat on the floor, bored out of his mind. The old man pulls back, chest heaving, and admits that last dodge came far too close. A hand slaps his hip as he reels, lost on how the kid closed the gap so fast. Jin is in his face again, and the monster twists around hard just to find him. Behind the grin, the ugly truth lands. This brat was never scared for a second. It clicks, and his blood boils. Jin has been playing the mighty old boss like a toy. Jin leans in, red eye shining, asking if the old man will keep blocking like a loser. Then the kid's whole face splits open as he screams at the old man to end it now. The monster smiles back, certain he will die for real if he keeps holding this in. A purple claw erupts off his arm and clamps Jin's head, and the kid just blinks. Both of Jin's eyes flare red in the dark, pupils shrinking to tiny points. The purple hand flings him sideways and Jin skids off through the smoke, bleeding. He lands in a crouch, shoulder torn open, and mutters a baffled word at the ground. Jin lifts his bloody face and asks how the old man could ever hold a thing like that. 2 stat windows flare open. His greatsword is an unstoppable blade, ranked near the top. The second reads left hand of the first beast, unknown rank. He now holds 2 Edeyas. Jin only grins wider, blood on his teeth, and asks what that creepy hand even is. The monster smirks and asks why the kid cares, tendrils curling off his purple fist. Jin twirls his dagger, thrilled the new arm is fun as the old man begs him to stop. The monster backs into the dark, dripping purple energy, putting distance between them. Jin's face lights up as he asks if the big scary old man is really running away now. The monster grins that he can't flee a comrade and swears he will remember this brat. Purple claws tear out of him everywhere as Jin drops low across the wrecked room. The energy swallows the old man whole as he strains, one eye shut, powering up. A glowing purple circle carves itself into the concrete right under his boots. The circle erupts, a spinning column of force blasting chunks of floor into the air. The monster looms up huge in the haze as Jin plants his feet and stares him down. Up top, the building lurches, and the leader freezes mid-step, jaw dropping in shock. The leader stands in a doorway, gaping at torn concrete and pouring dust. It can't be the Goblin woman, the leader figures, so it is the old man. Time to bolt. Below, the monster leaps over the rubble, and Jin chirps that it is hide and seek. Jin's eyes light up as he cheerfully offers to just crank his speed up a bit. The monster snaps at him to quit joking. Sure, a gap this wide can never be crossed. Both plunge through the air over the crater, and Jin sings back that it is no joke. The old man braces, teeth clenched, deciding this kid has gone completely insane. Up top, the leader peeks over the edge and gasps at the wrecked boss down below. The monster's head snaps up, catching a shape at the rim, and he hums, curious. He grins wide and mutters that fate clearly has not abandoned him after all. Light pours into the crater as a bloody blade glints far down in the dust. Jin lands hard by the leader, bloody and huge, and the leader gawks at him. On the ledge, the monster throws out a hand and howls that he just found another one. Both of Jin's eyes burn in the dark as a sharp cry of refusal rings out. The leader stumbles back in red streaks, hair flying, jaw hanging in pure shock. The leader stands frozen, watching a body tumble across the floor through the smoke. The figure sprawls face down on broken concrete and lets out a low groan. The leader shrieks at Jin for crawling out of that hole, and he groans, playing hurt. The monster calls down, asking if the leader knows this kid, grateful for the save. The leader whips around, stunned, and demands why the old man quit fighting below. The monster looms over the edge, bloody blade high, as the leader screams for answers. Did the goblin woman wreck him this bad? The leader wonders, eyeing the huddled boss. No way, the leader thinks. The trash could never have pulled a thing like this off. The leader grabs at Jin for answers as a creepy giggle starts leaking out of the kid. Jin drifts closer, giggling in the red haze, and the leader recoils from the freak. The monster crouches on the rim, thanking the leader for peeling that leech off him. The leader spins, lost, shouting at the old man to explain what he even means. Jin's eyes glow low and red in the shadow, fixed and hungry. The monster grins that a cocky comrade like this one never forgets a favor. His mouth stretches huge as he admits the person may never know the debt got repaid. The leader chokes out a strangled sound, sweat running, totally lost in the chaos. The old man offers friendly advice to run to the first floor fast and maybe live. The leader looks up, thrown at the boss standing tall over the ruined floor. The leader snaps that he will not go down since the old man's servants wait below. Good luck surviving. The monster laughs, glad he obeyed orders and came to the south. He eyes Jin in the doorway. Stunned, a goblin girl and a washed-up old man raise this. Even the syndicate head never imagined a blood-drunk monster like Jin. His red eyes blaze as he grins. Bloody but calm on the broken rim, the old man says he repays favors and tells the leader to run. His figure strolls off along the ledge while the leader stares up and manages one word. The leader gapes, Jin's dark head slumped nearby. The old man fled from this trash? Sweat rolls down his face as he tries to make it add up. None of it fits. To the leader, the kid is just F-rank garbage. On the floor, Jin lies still and smiles. Jin plays hurt in the rubble, flapping a limp hand and calling for the leader over and over. The leader can only stammer. One red eye burns as Jin grins wide. The old man got away, so the leader is his new playmate. Blue light hits the leader's face and his mouth drops open. He can't process that pit. The leader breaks into a sprint, red hood flaring. Sure, this kid has lost his mind. He trips over the rocks, face full of panic, sure that running is his only way out. Jin rises from the crater gap, vest soaked in blood, sweetly calling for the leader. His grin stretches across the shadows as he asks if the leader wants tag too. The kid crouches in the shattered slabs, dripping red, thrilled to be it again. Red streaks fill the room as the leader bolts. Jin chases and reminds him he was it earlier too. Jin reaches a hand toward the sprawled leader and offers a brand new game. The leader screams at the garbage and kicks out just as Jin dives in with the dagger. The whole panel floods red as both of Jin's eyes flare open. The leader wrenches aside, blood spraying, and Jin sounds impressed he slipped it. Darkness leaves only Jin's red eye and grin as he coos for the leader. Jin flips upside down, clamps onto the leader, and sings that he got him. The collar twists in Jin's fist as the leader chokes and begs the garbage to let go. Jin's grin fills the panel, dagger up. He asks if they cut an arm today or a leg. Caught in that hand, the leader shrieks that the kid is a psychotic freak. The leader flings him off with a wild swing and roars at him to play alone. Jin skids across the floor on his back and pouts that this is real messed up. A pink blast bursts by the doorway as Jin says he should mind his squad better. The leader drops back into the pit and Jin says the squirming made him hard to grab. Upside down, the leader's face twists and Jin notes he can't move at all now. The leader falls in Jin's grip screaming and Jin asks if the leader hates him. Both dangle over the drop, dagger raised, the leader yelling they will both die. Jin's hand locks tighter and he hums he won't die, while the leader dreads the splat. A far shout of squad leader cuts in, and the leader's eyes go wide. He knows that voice. Among the tumbling rubble, the leader drops his pride. If he dies anyway, so be it. His arm slams across Jin as he swears he won't die inside this monster's hands. Jin's upside-down face takes the hit, red eye gleaming as the sleeve rakes past. They split apart, the dagger stuck in a rock. Jin teases that he swings too slow. Green runes coil on Jin's dagger and his red eye flicks aside at a new presence. Jin's grin splits over the blade. He can feel another person close. He launches into the dark, one bright slash cutting the frame. Jin knocks a flying bolt off his dagger and asks if this one came to play, as the leader gapes. The leader shouts as a bigger worry hits, and a hard voice barks at him to move. A spinning column of wind grabs the leader and hurls him, Jin shrinking behind. The leader's face strains as a massive impact tears across him. A pillar of white force erupts from the pit, while the leader clings to the rim. Dust settles on the crater as Jin sits alone at the bottom in a shaft of light. His face tilts up, red eye shining, and he calls his leader out to play. Jin studies the old man's huge greatsword left in the rubble as a voice wonders what it is. His mouth curls into a slow grin. The next player is his absolute favorite. A wide hall of empty recliner pods appears as a voice asks how long she will stay like that. A white-haired girl in a school uniform holds a low stance, scraped and bruised. A hand braces on a glowing blue ledge as she digs in, faking calm past her limit. Sweat pours down the white-haired girl's face. She can't hold much longer. A striking glove flares on a second girl, long orange hair swinging in the dark crowd. She cocks the glowing fist back and gives an order in the name of the first squad leader. Behind her, scared people surge up. They whine that they were first and demand to pass too. A man in a pale jacket shouts she shares a class with that girl who went in to save someone. He throws his arms wide to shield them as a panicked voice tells the student to move first. The squad leader reaches through the crush as the jacket man is told to quit it and swears he will never move. Tears streak the jacket man's face as he asks how they could ditch someone who fought for them. Two men crack. One begs that he has a family. The other snarls at her to drop the act. The white-haired girl grinds her teeth, barely upright, a groan slipping out. A dark-haired man grabs his head. He screams the ceiling is crushing them and begs for help. The squad leader watches, worn thin, and notes her classmate is nearly spent. She steps in, fists glowing, as the jacket man blocks her. No time, she says. Never, he says. A glowing blade hums by the jacket man as he warns her off. She says then she has no choice. The squad leader shuts her eyes as her fist blazes brighter than everything around it. Her arm snaps out over her fallen classmate as she calls her whole unit to dig the trapped free. The squad leader lights both fists and tells first squad to free the trapped people and guard Seyun. The crowd of survivors just stares back at her, frozen stiff, not one of them moving. She strides straight into the middle of them with one hand still burning bright. Panicked people press in on every side of her, and none of them dares run first. The leader crouches to Seyun, who is pinned in the rubble. Seyun tells her to quit posing and get this heavy thing off her. One panicking coward pipes up with a plan. Just sacrifice Seyun and the other trapped student. The leader does not even look up and warns him flat out not to come any closer. He steps in anyway, so she clamps a glowing hand on his wrist and the coward yelps. She raises her burning fist and swears that pushing any closer ends in a beatdown. The coward throws his hands up, sweating buckets, and folds with a weak little, "all right." Two squad members haul over a stone slab and a metal pole, ready to start digging. A burst of blue light smashes the debris apart, bright cracks tearing through the rock. The leader drags Seyun and the rest clear of the caved-in wreckage. Seyun lets out a giant breath and mutters that she is finally out of that mess. A classmate named Seonghwa turns to her and asks what on earth just went down. The leader smirks and says she simply trusted her platoon member to read the room. Seonghwa blinks, still lost, so she spells out the trick. Seyun only faked her panic. Seyun leans in close, a thin cutting wire still coiled around her fingers. Her wires lash out and cut the attackers down. Fear had made her blank on that trained move. The leader crouches, worn thin, and finally names the enemy, a group called Peste. A news story glows on a phone. Peste strikes again, and once more nobody is left alive. She touches her lip and gets it. Killing Seyun for Il-jung saved no one, since Peste spares no witness. Seonghwa steadies her and asks if she is alright. She says the squad needs to hear this. She grabs his shoulder and drives it home. Don't die on your knees. Fight back the way Seyun did. Seyun fires it right back. The leader said to act scared, yet here she is posing all cool. Then purple threads rip through the air and everyone freezes. Is this Il-jung's doing? Seonghwa and Seyun jerk their heads toward the ceiling and one name breaks out, Jin. The leader catches it and asks what a worthless F-rank kid has to do with any of this. Seonghwa reminds them why Il-jung climbed up there. Jin lured him up on purpose. He grabs Seyun's shoulder, certain this has to be some kind of sick joke. Seyun chokes out that Jin has stamina, sure, but the boy is still a bottom-rank trainee. Seonghwa counts heads. Only Jin and a guy named Gyeong are gone, and Gyeong would never do this. Seyun reaches for him as he backs away, and he snaps that there is no time after that sound. He curses under his breath and decides he will just run up and help on his own. Someone bolts up the stairwell while the leader still cannot believe Jin is really fighting. Seyun watches Seonghwa's face and knows right away that he is dead serious. It shakes her. Even when she traded blows with Il-jung, it was never this loud. By her own logic, Il-jung should crush a nobody like Jin in a single hit. Her eye flares as it lands. Jin dead like that? No, she refuses to let it happen. Seyun turns to the squad leader and calls out to her. Scraped down to nothing, she says she has one favor to ask. Seyun and Seonghwa climb fast. If she is too late for Jin, she saves the others at least. They reach a heavy door with Il-jung and Jin behind it. She cannot back out now. Seyun sets her palm on the door and braces herself to shove it open. The door grinds wide as she leans in for a look. She and Seonghwa step into a wrecked, dead silent room. A body lies sprawled out in a wide pool of blood across the floor. Seonghwa slaps a hand over his mouth and asks if every one of them is dead. Seyun stares over the ruined floor and cannot believe it. Jin did all of this? She counts the deep gouges a great sword left behind, at least 30 savage swings. Sweat rolls down her face as she studies the shattered slabs at her feet. The wreckage here dwarfs anything from the crater down on the first floor. A huge shaft is punched clean through the building. How much power did Il-jung hide? Seonghwa staggers up beside her, hand still over his mouth, gaping at the hole. Seyun leans over the pit. It looks like both fighters went up through it. Then she feels it. A shape comes rushing back down fast, so she sets her feet. Her eyes go wide. Is it Il-jung dropping toward them, or is it Jin? A bloodied body slams down first, and she knows the face. Gyeong? Why is he here? Gyeong hits the ground hard, and the one hunting him lands right after. It is Jin. Jin's face is all wrong. His eyes glow, and his grin has gone feral and hungry. Seyun grabs the old greatsword's hilt as Seonghwa panics, and she screams at him to move. She hauls the blue blade up and turns it flat, aiming to stop Jin without cutting deep. Jin blurs past the swing, and Seyun barely twists clear as a shout warns the leader to dodge. Seyun blinks, completely thrown off by how fast he moved. Two hands lock together in a sudden, crushing grip. A voice screams at all of them to run as they scramble across the broken floor. A pillar of blue energy erupts out of the pit with a deafening boom. The blast hurls the red-clothed body straight through a wall of smoke. Gyeong crouches in the haze, spitting curses and calling Jin a piece of garbage. Seyun pins him down and demands answers, and he gapes back. How is the goblin still alive? She snaps at him to shut up and tell her why Jin is hunting him down. Then a sing-song voice drifts across the room, light and cheerful in the worst way. Jin grins wide in the dark and greets Seonghwa, then coos a hello to pretty Seyun too. Drenched in blood, the kid everyone wrote off flings his arms wide and tells them all to come play. Jin looms over the two on the floor, one bloody hand reaching down for them. Seyun and Seonghwa sprawl at his feet, frozen, staring up at the blood-soaked boy. His face fills the frame, red eyes glowing, that grin stretched way too wide. Seonghwa laughs in a panic and asks if coming up here was a mistake, while Seyun asks if this is really Park Jin-sung. Jin waves through the red haze, singing hi and hello like a giddy little kid. The two keep their backs to us while Gyeong bleeds on the floor behind them, and Seonghwa can barely believe this thing is Jin-sung. Jin tilts his head and calls her Edeya pretty, then sneers that it is all rotten now. Seyun's head snaps up with a sharp what, thrown by what he just said. Jin grabs her by the tie and yanks, but Seyun shouts right back for the trainee to answer her. She wheels on Gyeong and warns him that this berserk Jin is not the weakling they knew. Gyeong coughs out that Jin already chased Kim Il-jung right out of the building. Since they spared him, Gyeong tells them to run while Jin is still talking. He grits his teeth and warns them to run now if they do not want to die. Jin shifts in the shadows while Seonghwa panics and begs Seyun to explain first. Seyun mutters that Jin looks even further gone than he did back in the bathroom. Seonghwa gasps that she knew Jin-sung was like this, and she admits she talked to him earlier. Jin's face swims out of the red, teeth bared, giggling about how he should kill her. Red blades swirl around Seyun as he weighs it, then decides this way looks good. Jin doubles over, clutching his own face, screaming that he cannot hold it back. Seyun throws her arms wide and dares him, asking what he will do with that thin patience. She smirks that her husband's slot is hard to earn, and asks if he can even qualify. Jin covers his bloody mouth, wondering if he should just kill the other candidates and the wife. Seyun calls out to Lee Seonghwa, and the panicked guy stumbles over a confused huh. She tells him she will buy time, so run, and Seonghwa cries out her name in shock. Seyun figures she has no sword and barely enough stamina to stall him 30 seconds. Jin lunges, grabs her face in a bloody hand, and sings out for his favorite Seyun. She reads his Edeya as fast and precise, and knows this is Park Jin-sung's power. Blades tear past her, and she sees a power as strong as it is impossible to control. Bleeding, Seyun decides he suffered even more than she did, and calls to the trainee. She tells him it must have been really hard, and says he did well. Park Jin-sung. Jin's face softens for 1 second, and he answers back, "Yeah, you too, Seyun." Then the grin splits back across his face as he chirps a cheerful bye-bye. Jin whips a bloody blade up behind her, and a red arc rips across her back. He catches her limp body by the wrist, still grinning, as her braid drags the floor. Everything narrows down to his mouth, curled into one awful silent grin. A sign reads autopsy room. Back when Jin had barely started grade school, little Jin looks up with hollow eyes as a grown-up's hand rests on his shoulder. A coroner checks a clipboard by 2 covered bodies, his parents killed by a robber. 2 pale feet stick out from the sheet, too bruised for anyone to even identify. With nowhere left to go, the boy gets steered off to live at his uncle's place. The uncle and aunt turn out to be bitter outcasts, both stuck with F-rank Edeyas. Jin apologizes while the uncle ties him with an Edeya rope that rots if knotted slow. The uncle lifts a rotting bat, another F-rank Edeya, as the aunt cackles at Jin to freeze. Day after day, that bat comes down on him, and the cursing and neglect never stop. Years later, a teenage Jin slumps in class, buried in a hoodie, when a voice says his name. He blinks up, surprised anyone even means him, and finds a girl at his desk. She asks why he still wears long sleeves in the heat. Then a friend calls Hyane away. Hyane asks if he wants to hit the store, but Jin keeps his bruised arms covered. He turns her down with a quiet, "I am okay," and she leaves when a friend hurries her. Kids whisper that he has no money and smells too dirty to sit near, and Jin sinks down. At school, the bullies pin him and stomp him with a sharp irk that knocks his air out. 3 boys stand over him and sneer at Jin-sung to finally pull out his Edeya. He whimpers that he has none, and they laugh that a beating might just awaken one. A hand yanks his hair up while they ask if they are not being so nice to Jin-sung. Beaten at home and at school, Jin starts stretching his walk home as long as he can. To dodge a few hits, he drifts past the empty playground and heads home late. A rustle kicks up in the bushes behind him, and he turns with a confused huh. Jin squints into the dark, wondering out loud what that noise even was. A scruffy little puppy comes bounding out of the brush with one bright bark. It trots right up, wagging hard, and Jin lights up at the tiny muddy thing. He crouches and ruffles its filthy fur, laughing that it got as dirty as him. The puppy licks his face, and he giggles that it tickles, and now they are friends. One night, his uncle storms up shouting his name, demanding why he will not come home. Jin freezes on the ground and stammers that, the thing is, as the uncle looms. The puppy leaps in front of him and snaps a fierce woof right at the uncle's hand. Jin yells for Poppy to stop while the uncle recoils, snarling about the filthy dog. Neighbors gather and murmur that the kid looks scared, and the uncle catches himself. Playing nice for the crowd, he says if that puppy keeps Jin out, the kid can keep it. Jin stares up, stunned, still cradling the muddy puppy against his chest. His whole face bursts open with joy as he hugs Poppy and blurts out a thank you. That night, the uncle's house sits quiet, one warm window glowing in the dark. Inside, Jin sprawls over a book with Poppy tucked close, laughing that it tickles. The uncle barks through the wall, demanding to know why Jin-sung is still awake. Jin jumps, flips off the light, and calls back a quick, yes. In the dark, he whispers goodnight to Poppy, the one friend that ever made this broken kid smile. Jin steps into his uncle's living room and quietly calls out to him. He holds Poppy up and asks to go play outside, and the uncle waves him off without even looking up from his drink. Jin's whole face lights up as he thanks his uncle, the puppy bundled inside his hoodie. At the front door, he calls Poppy to come on, and the little dog scampers after him. The evening sky opens up over the neighborhood playground where the two of them are headed. Jin crouches in the dirt with Poppy and thinks to himself that he finally has a friend. He scoops the puppy into his arms and laughs. A friend to play with at the playground. Poppy trots right at his heel, a friend that follows him everywhere he goes. The puppy nuzzles his cheek and Jin grins wide, a friend he can finally share his happiness with. Then Jin spots the clock tower and freezes, mumbling a confused huh at the hour. Panic floods his face as it hits him how late it is and how much trouble is waiting. He scoops Poppy up and races out of the playground, calling for the dog to run home with him. Back home, the uncle sits at the table and coldly asks Jin if the two of them are a joke to him. Jin keeps his head down and says he's sorry that he never noticed how late it had gotten. The uncle's fist tightens around his can as he snaps that a weak excuse won't fly. He growls that he shouldn't have to watch his back around the nosy old neighbors because of Jin. Jin promises to be more careful, but Poppy plants itself in front of him and barks at the uncle. Startled, Jin asks the puppy what's wrong while it keeps growling at the big man. The uncle leans down with his drink and threatens to turn the little mutt into stew. Jin drops to his knees, begging for mercy, and swears he'll train Poppy, but the dog won't quit barking. The uncle knocks him flat with one shove and sneers that the boy is talking back now. His face twists up with rage as he orders his wife to tie the kid up. The aunt giggles and loops a rope around Jin, cooing that he's forgotten his place lately. Poppy keeps barking and the uncle's patience finally snaps at all the noise. He charges the little dog and stomps down hard, spitting out, "You damned mongrel." Jin's eye blows wide with horror as he screams out Poppy's name. Poppy lies crumpled on the floor and lets out one weak whimper. The uncle smirks down at the quiet puppy and mutters a satisfied heh. Pinned under the rope, Jin cries for Poppy while the aunt tells him to hold still. Jin grinds his teeth and glares up from the floor, and the fear in his eyes is gone. The uncle grabs his rotting bat and asks what that look in the boy's eyes is supposed to mean. He swings the bat down again and again, demanding to know who taught the kid to glare like that. Jin curls up under the blows and sobs that he's sorry between every hit. The uncle spits that being weak and arrogant just runs in the boy's blood. Then he leans in with a grin and brags that he once beat a whole couple to death. The aunt frets that it's risky for Jin to know, but the uncle scoffs that nobody believes a powerless kid. Jin lifts his head and says his mother and father were killed by a robber. The uncle cackles that he killed them himself over a refused loan, and a burglar who climbed in took the blame in court. He wipes away tears of laughter remembering their faces, while Jin kneels frozen at his feet. Jin's eyes flood red as it lands that his uncle and aunt murdered his parents. The uncle mocks the boy's glare, and a low growl rises from the broken puppy. He turns toward the sound, thrown off that the little dog is moving at all. Poppy lunges up and sinks its teeth into the uncle's arm, ripping a howl out of him. Jin screams at Poppy to run, his eyes wide with fear for the dog. The uncle tears the puppy off his arm and roars at the crazy little mongrel. He looms over the limp puppy and mutters that he only hopes he won't catch rabies. Jin drags himself over and chokes out that he's sorry for bringing Poppy to a house like this. Tears pour down his face as he whispers that the puppy only ever wanted to play with him. He sobs that none of it would have happened if Poppy hadn't met an unlucky kid like him. Poppy lifts its head one last time and gives a happy little woof against his cheek. The uncle asks if the dog is finally dead, and the aunt sneers that it belongs in the garbage. Then Jin's eyes snap open blood red in the dark, and everything in him goes cold and quiet. All that rage pulls a glowing red blade straight out of his soul and into his hand. He whirls around and drives it into the uncle before the man can even flinch. Jin rises through the red smoke with the blade in his fist, and a broken little laugh slips out. The uncle backs away and asks where the boy could have picked up that dagger. Then it dawns on him and he mutters that the blade is a real Edeya. He forces a laugh that a weak anger-born weapon just proves the kid is F-rank like them. The uncle taunts that an F-rank brat from F-rank parents is only copying his betters. Jin answers with a quiet and the uncle snarls that his dead parents would be proud. The uncle lunges to grab him as a red streak cuts across the room. The blade punches clean through the uncle while the aunt shrieks for her husband. Jin stares out with one red eye and a bloody grin as the aunt screams over her slashed arm. Blood sprays the walls while the aunt begs, and Jin coldly tells her to laugh her little ahehe now. The uncle claws at the door to escape, leaving smeared handprints and a strangled groan. Jin taunts him to say it properly, then turns and tells the aunt he won't kill her. He sets the bloody Edeya against her and says a clean death would be far too kind. Standing over the aunt, Jin asks why the two of them did all that to his mother and father. He laughs that sparing them is the hard part, his whole face painted red. The blade hangs dripping in his fist as Jin breathes out that it feels good. His hollow eyes stare into nothing, sweat sliding down as the rage finally drains away. Jin jolts awake in a hospital bed with a gasp, and that blood-soaked kid is who the worthless nobody has really been all along. Jin wakes in the nurse's room as a red-haired nurse pulls back the curtain and asks if he's finally up. He blinks at her, dazed and confused, and she tells him he's lying in the school nurse's room. The nurse presses a gloved hand to his chest and warns him he can't stand up yet. She smiles and eases him back down, saying he should rest more, and he chokes out a weak groan. Jin stares at his own shaking hand, while his head feels like it's splitting open. A dark flash cuts in, his own hand soaked in blood with a ring on one finger. He jolts upright with a sharp gasp, one hand clamped over his mouth. Jin lurches up and shouts for the nurse, but she just sighs and tells him to lie back down. The nurse lifts a hand and asks him to please calm down a little. He grabs her coat and frantically asks what happened to everyone at the bank and his classmates. Jin's face twists dark and desperate as he starts screaming out a classmate's name. He slumps against the bed, breathing hard, the name Seyun caught on his lips. The nurse leans in and tells Jin to take one slow, deep breath, but his eyes stay hollow. He mumbles at her, trying to ask if Seyun is okay, but he can't force the words out. Jin snaps and screams to know where Seyun is, since his last memory was stabbing a blade into her. The nurse says Seyun is on her way here soon, and he freezes, wondering if that means she's alive. His hand fists the sheets as a darker thought lands, that she's carried in because she's badly hurt. Jin bolts off the bed and races out barefoot, desperate to see Seyun with his own eyes. The nurse turns after him as a door clatters down the hall. She watches him go and mutters that it would have been better if he never remembered. Out in the open, Jin's face is pale and sweating, and he can tell his body isn't moving right. His bare feet stumble down the steps while he thinks about all the damage he must have done. Jin forces his shaking legs onward, cursing the Edeya he still can't control. A hand swings a convenience store bag, a drink bottle rattling inside while someone hums a tune. Around the corner, Seyun strolls up humming, bags in both hands, completely alive and fine. Jin's eyes go wide and wet as it hits him that he never cut her neck open after all. He crumples to his knees in front of her and Seyun blinks down, calling him a cadet. Jin stays down, shaking with relief that he didn't kill her, as she asks why he's kneeling. Seyun looms over the barefoot kneeling boy and says he looks fine if he's running around now. She pats his bowed head while he keeps his face down, sweat dripping off his chin. From above, Seyun stands over him with the dropped drinks as Jin breathes out pure relief. Seyun drops into a crouch, alarmed, asking if he's crying and where it even hurts. From a distance, Jin stays curled up while Seyun jokes that people will think she rejected him. After the Peste attack, the school locks its gates and shuts down for a whole week. On that day, one student grabbed a stranger's phone to spread word the second the leader pulled back. Inside the bank, teams combed through the blood, where 17 guards and 13 workers died. The papers swarm one Haeyeon high class for stopping Peste and crown a single girl the White Goblin. Seyun sighs that the interviews beat the fight itself and decides to keep Jin's name out of it. She had stood by his bed while he slept, sure the reporters would never believe any of it. Seyun looks down at the sleeping Jin and admits even she could barely believe what she saw. Her mind drags back to that day, everything soaked red, her white hair streaked with blood. Seyun stands over a downed attacker in the wrecked bank, blood sprayed across her uniform. Her face is blank and stunned, sweat running down as she stares across the room. What she sees is Jin, grinning wide and cold, his shirt and tie flecked with blood. Then the boy's head drops, his eyes slide shut, and he folds down toward the floor. Seyun lunges and catches his collapsing body before it can hit the ground. She hauls him up by the arm, screaming for the cadet, screaming his name. Blood pools around their feet, his white socks stark against the dark spread as she keeps yelling. Back on the street, Seyun grips his hand and tells him to get up now if he's done crying. Jin lifts a tear-streaked face and barely manages to start saying her name. Seyun yells at him to knock it off, since he never cut her, and his Edeya came out just fine. She throws her arms up and demands to know if that isn't already enough for him. Jin just bursts into full sobs, big tears blasting out of both eyes. They finally stand, and Seyun snickers about the look the nurse will give him when he slinks back. After the 1-week break, the tall school buildings fill the sky and daily life picks back up. In the hallway, students whisper that Class 10 has a whole different vibe after fighting Peste. One kid gushes it's so cool and wishes for a chance like that as Jin trudges past with a dead Ha. Jin's eyes go flat behind his glasses, thinking even killers who wanted them dead deserved better. A bloodied mask lies in a pool of red, proof his Edeya slipped far past his control. His feet carry him down the empty hall as he admits so many people died a brutal death because of him. Jin's mouth twists into a crooked grin, calling it a miracle that Seyun lived and his Edeya shut off. He stops in the hallway, set on making sure nothing like this ever happens again. Jin leans both hands on the wall, hunting for a way to stop getting thrown around by his own Edeya. He needs someone who glimpsed that power and can advise him, and a senior on the pull-up bar fits. The senior drops his sleepy eyes on Jin and asks if he wasn't told to rest all week. Jin steps up and says he has a question, and the senior hangs off the bar to listen. The senior's sweaty face pinches into a puzzled He keeps hauling himself up on the bar and tells Jin to go ahead and spit it out. His shoes hit the floor as he drops down and tells Jin to just say it. Face to face in the gym, Jin asks if souls really differ based on an Edeya's rank. The senior narrows his eyes and turns the strange question over. He explains that the Edeya is a world soul ranking, and your power scales with that rank. He checks that Jin means whether an Edeya's rank widens the gap between a person and their soul. Jin nods that that's exactly it, already certain he knows how the senior will answer. But the senior flatly says no, and Jin's eyes jump up behind his glasses. The senior explains that rank only changes what an Edeya manifests, nothing more than that. He towers over Jin and lands it flat that there is simply no rank in the soul. Panels 1 to 77. Chars 6672/6160. The senior looks Jin dead in the eye and says, a soul carries no rank at all. Jin's hand curls into a tight, nervous fist while he chews on that answer. He fires back that raw performance clearly shifts with the rank of your Edeya. The senior nods that it shifts, but says that never splits souls into leagues. He leans in and finally asks the real question he has been circling this whole time. The words land hard, and Jin flinches because the senior read him perfectly. His crazy soul only wants to kill, so he refuses to believe it ranks above anyone. He thinks back to the trigger that first woke his Edeya, even the day he was born. Admitting souls have leagues would mean admitting his whole purpose is slaughter. His eyes blow wide and red as the memory of that massacre forces its way back in. Ghost voices swarm him, calling him a devil, a murderer who enjoys the killing. Then the noise cuts out, and it is just Jin and the senior alone in the gym. The senior remembers the first day he saw Jin and flatly told him to work hard. Back then, he pegged the kid as someone who would never put in any real effort, but Jin whined every day about sore muscles and still showed up to train anyway. One memory has Jin flat on the floor, groaning that the workout is going to kill him. That worn-out kid kept pace regardless, and the senior still has not forgotten it. Now the senior lays out his theory that a higher Edeya rank means stronger fighting power. He shows two souls, an A rank glowing bright beside a much dimmer D rank. That gap is the whole logic of soul ranking. Then the senior asks, what if you flip it? What if a weak Edeya still pumps out force, like him winning with a clunky one? Back at the bench, he presses the bar and says he knows Jin is not forced to come. Jin keeps showing up to check it through him, a fighter whose grade tops his Edeya. That truth settles in, and no real league splits one soul from the next. Inside his own head, Jin stands alone, still denying the Edeya buried in him. Under his feet, that soul twists into a red, monstrous thing he cannot stand to own. He tells himself a filthy Edeya like that gets no free pass just for ranking high. The senior grins over the bar, asking if he became the answer Jin was chasing. A man who forced his combat grade to A+ on a plain B rank soul, proving effort pays. Jin remembers walking up with his fist out, finally ready to talk it all through. He spilled his whole secret, and the senior nods toward that state from the squad battle. The senior finishes the thought that the state was Jin's true Edeya all along. Jin checks that he really buys it. An F rank who is secretly a hidden S rank. He admits he is the one who actually put Peste down, and the senior's grip tightens. The senior asks what Jin could possibly gain by lying, and spots no upside anywhere. That answer convinces the senior, and Jin quietly thanks him for the trust. The senior boils it down that Jin never wants his Edeya steering him again. Jin says he thought he could barely keep that wild power under control, but the second he stabbed a Peste man in the bank, his last hold on sanity snapped. He woke standing over a floor of corpses, knife in hand, a grin creeping up his face. Jin says he has finished letting his Edeya swing him around the way it used to. He turns to the senior and asks what he would do standing in the exact same spot. The senior's answer is simple: to build a healthy body and a steady, clear mind. Jin throws his arms up, snapping that he always trained, yet nothing ever changed. The senior says everyone who cannot control their Edeya shares one quiet trait. The truth is plain, that they simply cannot bring themselves to love who they are. People stuck there deny their own effort, so he tells Jin to stand proud of it. Jin just stares, lost, mumbling the word love back like it makes no sense at all. To him, he is a murderer who gets a sick thrill from killing, nothing worth loving. The senior cuts in, asking if Jin ever worked hard to turn into a killer. Then he holds his gaze and says it plain, that Jin has to love himself. He means not the blood-drunk Jin obsessed with murder from that ugly memory. That one wears a glowing red eye and a cold grin, soaked head to toe in crimson. He means the Jin who fought with everything to pin that murderous urge down. That Jin's fist shakes and bleeds from the sheer strain of holding it back. Hearing that, Jin sinks to the floor at the senior's feet, completely wrung out. Then the senior opens up about himself, admitting he once wanted to be the best, but his own Edeya was never the best. No matter how much his body grew, he could not reach the top or even the base of the mountain, however hard he pushed. Across 3 full years of middle school, he never once climbed into the advanced rounds. The senior hated his low-rank Edeya and his own weakness, yet nothing shifted. Then one question hit him, whether he had ever truly understood his own Edeya. He broke it down piece by piece and mapped exactly where his current limit sat. His face twists with strain as he drives his body right to the very edge. Out on the court, he blurs into motion, snapping off a burst of raw power. Playing his strengths and guarding his weak spots, he squared off with his Edeya. Sweat pours as he drills against a gasping partner, closing every gap in his form. The two of them collide across the mat, Gi grabbing Gi in a blur of speed. His hand clamps down on the collar as every ounce of that training loads up. He hurls the opponent to the mat and, right there, finally surpasses his own limit. Those polished dress shoes settle on the floor because even his current self keeps climbing. The senior stands there ripped and grinning, swearing to keep surpassing himself and reach the top. Then he flips it onto Jin, asking him point blank what he himself is going to do. Jin stares up at that hulking frame and starts to answer that he will do it too. He slowly pulls his glasses off, the doubt across his face finally clearing away. Jin plants his feet and says that he too is going to push past his own limit. He rolls up a sleeve, fist clenched, and swears out loud that he will surpass himself. A voice booms through the sealed room that guns do nothing to an Edeya user. Inside, a crowd of trainees huddles in the dark as thick smoke rolls over them. The voice calls chemicals the exception, since going human to breathe kills you. A cadet buckles in the smoke, snapping that if they die anyway, this is madness. Another cadet pounds the wall, screaming why they train resistance to this at all. A blonde kid beats the barrier, tears streaming, begging someone outside to open up. 2 masked instructors watch outside, noting the CS gas is far too thick in there. Behind his mask, one officer admits even this toughened platoon is struggling today. Cadets drop as they beg for rescue, and an instructor offers points for a song. Then Jin, of all people, sings the national anthem through his tears for the points. The sealed door finally cracks open, and a wall of gas pours out into the daylight. A ponytailed trainee bolts out first as someone yells the smoke blinded them inside. Then Jin strolls out perfectly fine, while the 2 instructors beside him sag over. He reports to the chemistry teacher himself, since every officer above him collapsed. The chemistry teacher covers his mouth and manages a weak, queasy little okay. An overhead shot shows the squad, 11 assigned, 10 on the ground, 1 still up. Jin ends it with a flat, dead-eyed end of report, like the ordeal meant nothing. Daytime scouting ranks Jin first, and he corners the very last hider with a grin. At night, he finds every hider in the pitch black, and the graders call it monstrous. He wants a rank badge badly, so he low crawls through the mud faster than anyone. In the battle drill, he charges in, roaring that today he will overcome himself. In stealth, he hides so well for an hour that the staff think he ditched the drill. Up in the office, the commander flips the files. Stunned, every first place is Jin. The files call this F-rank kid gifted at everything, and that fact nags at him. A nervous instructor cuts in that the other cadets are meeting their marks too. The commander frowns at the pages and says flat out that all of this is not enough. That answer freezes the instructor, who has no clue where his boss is heading. The instructor drops real news. The 998 Infiltration Brigade is marching on the school. A folder hits the desk, since rivals resent their funded school and want it shamed. The commander taps a circled date and writes off the first years and third years. His real worry is the second years, so he decides to crank their training way up. The instructor carefully asks what kind of program the commander has in mind. He grabs the calendar and names a short, brutal combat strength course for them. Then he leans in with a nasty grin, like this crash course was a given all along. The scene cuts to cadets hauling heavy crates down a street, groaning for the end. Jin lugs 2 boxes at once, and a cadet named Seyun asks why he doubled his load. He answers that since they train anyway, he might as well build some muscle too. Seyun notes he trained at lunch too, and he shrugs that this is a separate thing. She sighs and dubs him Mr. Excessive, and he wonders when his nickname changed. Down the line, Seyun says people keep staring and brags she is used to attention. Jin deadpans that she sounded really full of herself, and she bristles at that. She clarifies the crowd is watching harder than usual, and this time, not at her. The looks are aimed at Jin, and she flatly asks if he finally gets the picture. He blinks, totally lost, and asks why the crowd would gawk at him of all people. Then he guesses, dead straight, that maybe it is just because he looks so handsome. Seyun says she will pretend she never heard that, and he whines that she is mean. Jin drops the joke, but the gazes really do burn into the side of his head now. The distraction gets him, his focus slips, and he stumbles with a startled yelp. He has walked right into a big cadet in a red hoodie and quickly stammers sorry. Jin knows the face, forces a shaky laugh, and greets him as the squad leader. The squad leader only stares back, cold and silent, sizing Jin up without a word. Then he clicks his tongue, calls Jin garbage, and says to watch where he steps. Once he leaves, Seyun mentions the squad leader has been acting strange lately. She asks if Jin truly has no clue why the older cadets stopped picking on him. He guesses it is thanks to her, and she groans that he is the one who changed. Seyun kicks at the air, genuinely fed up with how oblivious this guy can be. Inside now, Jin hauls his boxes down a hall and calls her name once again. She snaps to ask what now, and he offers to explain his Edeya if she is curious. Seyun turns her nose up and insists she is not interested in a thing like that. Jin says he honestly would not mind laying the whole secret out just for her. The line makes her grin and blush, warning him never to say that to other girls. She smugly claims any other girl would have swooned, and only she held back. Jin grins and asks if only girls are off limits, since he already told the senior. Seyun loses it, grabs him, and shrieks that he told the senior before her. She shakes him by the collar, demanding the whole story before she beats it out. Jin just wheezes, cheeks squished, like this kind of shaking happens to him daily. The scene cuts to the squad leader, shaken, sure Jin's aura nearly got him killed. He claws at his own hair, cursing, asking how things ever spiraled to this point. Still, he swears he will never admit that fear until someone proves it for sure. Back with Seyun, Jin laughs that he will explain it later, away from the crowd. She gets flustered again and tells him to stop saying lines like that to girls. Jin changes the subject and finally asks why they are lugging these boxes anyway. Seyun is surprised he missed it, saying the crates are prep for the coming training. She glances back with a dark smile and names the nightmare ahead of them, Gorilla. An instructor waves a red baton, herding a column of loaded cadets down the street. One cadet buckles under a massive pack and groans, asking why they even do this. Jin trudges beside Seyun, wondering if he should have packed his 5-kilo dumbbells. Seyun tags him Mr. Excessive and asks why a kid who once fled workouts now grinds in heat. Jin just sweats through it while Seyun slowly nods off on her feet mid-march. Seyun jolts awake and mumbles a groggy question about why he suddenly stopped. Jin halts by a taped-off bank, joking their senior senior would haul 10-kilo weights per hand. Seyun blinks at him and the instructor barks a 10-minute break for the whole unit. She reads the Narabank sign and snaps that stopping here is beyond inconsiderate. Jin leans in, asking what rattled her, since her face just went pale. Seyun flips it around, asking if he is the one who should feel shaken here. Jin grins, points off to the side, and asks if she got worked up over that. Seyun freezes, wondering if she wasted a whole pile of worry for nothing. A little kid rushes up, calling her the famous Kim Seyun, the real white goblin. More fans swarm in, cheering that this young hero is the future of the country. Seyun flips on a bright idle smile and thanks the crowd sweetly for their support. Jin studies the bank and reads it as the principal's spot to advertise the school. This is the bank from the Peste incident, and the media adores these Haeyun second years. A news screen carries it all, and locals can file training complaints straight to staff. Shop owners cheer them on, thrilled even while the huge packs block their storefronts. A teacher quietly slips them a gift, so the staff clearly smoothed this over beforehand. Free advertising and a proud little show at once, though the whole setup sits wrong. Jin gags a bit, uneasy that parading here ignores the victims of that incident. The instructor claps and cheerfully shoos the citizens off so the unit can move. Back in line, Jin asks if Seyun rested, and she grumbles her neck is killing her. Jin stares up at the taped bank windows, admitting the sight still stirs him. His eyes narrow, sharp and steady, while the old memory settles over him. Jin pushes forward under the pack, set on the idea that he stands above his soul. He tells himself a soul carries no fixed rank, and a small grin says he will change. Elsewhere, a smug voice on a phone confirms the plan around Kim Seyun runs perfectly. A suited man gloats that routing the march past that spot worked, adding 5 extra kilometers. He thumbs a key fob, and a sleek white car blinks awake as he says he is heading out. Behind the wheel, the commander decides hyping up worn-out students is his sacred duty. He hangs up, fully sure the whole school would fall apart without him running it. The white car peels off, while his booming laughter roars out the open window. The march reaches a rough forest trail, and a sharp command halts the whole unit. The instructor points up the steep path and calls a longer break before the climb. Slumped on a tree, Seyun calls him Mr. Excessive again, and Jin begs for a nicer nickname. She offers chocolate and he snaps a salute, booming thanks as Trainee Park Excessive. As she hands the bar over, a white car suddenly rolls up the forest trail toward them. Jin blinks in plain confusion, while Seyun mouths a stunned question about the car. The car eases to a stop on the dirt, and the two of them just stare at the bumper. A door swings open, a polished shoe hits the dirt, and someone snaps a loud salute. The commander climbs out, fanning himself, and brushes off the salute with a bored flick. He beams at Seyun, asking if the ruck is manageable, and she reports 0 problems. The commander laughs that she is so reliable, the shining ace of the second year. Jin snaps a salute and gives his name, but the commander squints and asks who he is. Recognition flickers, and he barks that in training, Jin must say battalion commander. Jin instantly folds and rephrases, barking the battalion commander title to smooth it. Watching it, Seyun thinks the commander's favoritism could not be more obvious. The commander eyes Jin closely, noting he looks far less wrecked than the others. Jin starts to explain, but the commander cuts in and demands he open the ruck. Jin's easy grin drops, and a bead of sweat rolls down as he stalls on the order. The commander declares an inspection and tells the instructor to bring the packing list. A hand digs through the folded gear, and Seyun sees the commander hunting for an excuse. Jin kneels and unpacks while Seyun frets a single missed item could sink him here. The instructor runs the checklist, poncho to flashlight, and reports nothing missing. The commander frowns at the clipboard, muttering the kid left absolutely nothing out. Then his smirk returns as he spots the ruck still holding 1 lump after it emptied. Jin brightens, reaches deep into the pack, asking if the commander means this thing. He proudly holds up a bundle of sandbags he packed to train with on every break. The commander recoils at 4 20-kilo bags as Jin names the gorilla stamina drill. Seyun groans inside that the man is still fishing for dirt as the instructor cuts in. The instructor blurts the unit must leave now, and the commander shrugs and waves them on. They watch the commander stroll to his white car as someone wishes him a safe drive. Then Seyun's eyes narrow at a distant figure, and a quiet question tugs at her mind. Up at a lookout rail, the squad leader watches the cadets grind up the long slope. Beside him, a cadet named Jui pegs Seyun, the white goblin, as the one worth testing. The squad leader shakes his head, telling Jui the real one to watch is Jin. Jui smirks, recalling the guy with the dagger, and doubts that high ranking. A lazy wave of his hand shows the doubt as an old spar with that kid surfaces. In the memory, Jin darts around with a dagger, quick on his feet and hard to wear down. But Joey recalls Jin's Edeya reading as weak, nowhere near the worth others claim. Down at the rail, Jui asks if the kid is really worth it, and the leader says of course. Jai needles him for overrating a clubmate, guessing he rates Jin above the first squad. The squad leader stays flat, saying the kid earns that rank, which makes Jai pause. Jai's eye snaps wide, thrown that the squad leader would rate that guy so seriously. The squad leader ranks Jin above the entire first platoon, and Jai wheels around, demanding he repeat it.